You're muted, Ben.
One show. Oh, I'm muted.
Oh, there we go. Now you're in.
Can you hear me now? We're good?
Oh. Wait, what the fuck?
Music is still going.
It came in through my other PC. I'm so sorry.
And
We're
Arden's got the
here.
show in the background.
Oh my god. Oh, it's
Anyway,
terrible. What a new
this is the
mistake.
Transatlantic Collins show, and today is May the 4th. So put all of your Star Wars jokes in the super chats today, because I'm ready for some May the 4th be with you in the side chat today. But
Hell yeah.
We're here, two real trans people, and not only am I surprisingly on the show today, but I am in charge of the show today. Weird.
Hell yeah.
Weird how this works out. Patriarchy, whatever. So I'm your host, Dr. Ben, no longer student Dr. Ben, and the fading in and out hologram beside me
Hello, everyone. I'm Arden Hart. Happy to be here, back again after my work vacation. Not vacation/vacation, but work. Sorry for the confusion today, everyone. I mean, between thinking Katy was going to be on, and then she wasn't on, and then the audio issues has been a mess, but we're here, and we're ready to go. We're going to take some awesome calls and get to some poignant discussion points. But how have you been, Ben? Ben?
I've been all right. It's been 1 week since top surgery. I've still got my drains in. I've got, I think I'm getting my drains out on Monday. So I haven't been able to shower or do anything. And I've just been kind of stir crazy. But it's okay because, hopefully these will be out soon and my pain will go down a little bit. But otherwise, I've had some interesting discussions on Twitter this week, and I'm hoping a few people are going to call in because they'd make for some interesting topics of conversation. But other than your work/vacation, how are you today?
Good for the most part. I mean, I'm a little frazzled from this pre-show confusion, but I'm glad that the show is on the rails, and where Matt and I are going to see the premiere of the new Guardians of the Galaxy tonight, so that's going to be pretty cool. Everyone's like, it's the best Marvel movie in years. So, we'll see how it is, if it actually lives up to the hype or if it's a disappointment. But I'm excited either way.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Ready for...
Well...
Yeah.
You're ready for some calls. Well, the good news is that this is a show where you can call in and ask two trans people anything you want about trans issues, or if you want to debate about anything going on with regard to trans issues, you can call this number at the bottom of the screen, 720-619-2288, or you can call from your browser. There's a link in the description if you'd like to call in. We're happy to talk about anything trans related. Don't worry about offending us, because we really just want to have these discussions. This is a safe place to do that. We had a poll last week that we wanted to talk about. Can we get that up?
Drop that last week's poll. I was looking at some of the comments. Okay, here we go. Do you want to read it?
Yeah. Does transparency about post-operative depression lead to worsened gatekeeping for those interested in surgical transition? And 19% said yes, and 81% said no. And since I was on last week when we did this, I want to hear Arden's thoughts first.
It's an interesting question. I think I can see why people would be worried that being honest about post-surgical depression, how that could lead to worse gatekeeping. I'm not sure I'm convinced it does, because I think even aside from trans affirming surgeries, I think this is the case that people often end up with depression post any surgical procedure, like major invasive surgical procedures. So I think probably the medical community is aware of this, and it's probably not threatening from if you actually understand medicine perspective. But I think we all know that our legislators are often very uneducated on medicine and will often make very anti-science, anti-medicine arguments to support bad laws. So it's hard to say. I could see it being weaponized for sure, but I don't think it necessarily leads to worse than gatekeeping. I'd probably say no on that, but that's my like nuanced spiel. Yeah, I'm actually surprised though, as many people said no as they did. What was your answer on this last week?
Yeah, I don't think it does. I think it's definitely a concern for people that are less educated. And like you're saying, it is often weaponized specifically for trans-related procedures. I know I can see this with certain surgeons that maybe aren't up to date on the current issues and maybe aren't speaking from a well-informed place, that some of them might see a trans person that said that they had some post-op depression and take that as wanting to detransition, which isn't the case. I know Katy Montgomerie has talked in the
Right.
past about having doctors deny her certain care because she had fears of undergoing it.
Right.
So I understand why people would want to hide if they're having post-op depression, because it might seem like they're regretting it. And I talked about this a little bit last week, because I did have some post-op depression with like relation to my top surgery, and it's going away. But there are a few factors that make this likely to happen. Number one, it's a big surgery and you have a lot of expectations and you don't know how it's going to turn out. Your body went through immense physical and emotional trauma. And that's enough to make you regret just going in for a surgery at all. And specifically for mastectomies, you have hormone producing tissue being taken out. And so your hormone balance is different, not necessarily worse, but it's different than what you are used to. And that could predispose you to have some more depression. So I don't think it currently is an issue, but it's definitely worth watching for to make sure people aren't using this as an argument to deny people transition. So I think I would agree with you that it would be a no.
Yeah. No, that all that totally makes sense. I know I've heard from a lot of trans women. I don't know if there's actual like empirical data on this, but I heard from a lot of trans women who got bottom surgery that like the first 6 months they actually had a lot of regret, because all they could think about in that time was how much pain they were in and how difficult the recovery process was. But once they got on the other side, where they're dilating far less frequently, they can really get back to their normal life and they're moving and able to like experience sexual pleasure again and stuff. All of a sudden they're like, I would never have done it any differently. This is infinitely better for my life. But that period in between is so difficult in recovery. You're experiencing such a radical change in your body and like remapping, neurologically how you relate to your body. There's so much going on. It absolutely makes sense that it would happen to lead you with like a bout of depression before you kind of sunk in like, oh yeah, these are the results I was looking for. I'm so much better off this way. Yeah, I think it's a part of like when we talk about regret and surgery, it's often this very like myopic, like I either wish it never happened or I am so thrilled it happened. And there's never like the middle ground of where it's like, well, I don't like these parts that I had to go through, but by and large, I'm happy that I did it. Yeah, I think there's a lot of middle ground there that gets lost in a lot of these discussions and flattened through ideas like post-operative depression. But it's an important thing that we should be able to talk about honestly, without fear of it, like this question implies, like leading to worse than gatekeeping for trans people.
Definitely. And the fact that we just need to normalize this across the board for people, because it doesn't mean you're not trans. If you've ever experienced this, if you've ever experienced, with any gender affirming care, if you've experienced fear or hesitation or any of that, it doesn't mean you're not trans. It just means that you're going through a normal human emotional process to work through what you're going through. So don't use that to invalidate yourself or anybody else. Therapy is great to help out with these kind of things, but just know that this is completely normal and you don't have to be 100% euphoric all of the time to be trans.
Yeah, absolutely. But now we've got this week's poll, which I will have to do a little ranting on. Are adopted mothers real mothers? Your options are yes and no. And this comes from, I think it was a couple weeks ago now, but Marjorie Taylor Greene during I believe what was happening was they were interviewing leaders and school board officials that advised the CDC to close schools during the COVID pandemic. And one of these people that they interviewed was Weingarten. I can't remember, or Weingarten. I don't know how you want to pronounce it. Basically, she was the president of. Oh, hold on. I've got this up over here, and now I've lost it. Okay, she was the president of some school board or some school American Teachers Federation or something like that. That was giving advice to the CDC to recommend closing schools during the COVID pandemic. Is what was happening. She is a lesbian and married into a family with a woman who already had a child. And during this grilling by Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene implied that because this woman married into her family, that she's not a real mother. She's not a biological mother. And this kind of comes off the heels of in recent call-in shows when we've talked about the what is a woman question. While I think our responses are accurate and true, I've been kind of wanting a more snappy, short way to kind of respond to these questions. And it had to do with, ironically, asking people, what counts as a real mother? So it was interesting that this came up so recently as well. It was like right after I kind of was going through this thought process. And I think it points out some of the flaws in the question, what is a woman? The adult human female probably is sufficient for the most part, but obviously there are exceptions that we all would include. And there are some more controversial exceptions. And likewise, I think when we're talking about what counts as a real mother, probably historically and biologically, we can talk about how probably a mother is the one who gave the large immobile gamete to produce the child. But in reality, when we're talking about mothers, we're talking about something much broader than that, much more socially constructed than that. People who marry into families become parents. I know my stepfather, I have said many times, has done a lot more fathering for me than my own father. And so I feel like this is deeply personal to me. Whether or not, he's a real father is quite an absurdist question. But yeah, I don't know, Ben, how do you respond to all that? How does that make you, what kind of thoughts you have?
I think this is an amazing point to bring up. And I know we've talked about this a little bit before, just in person, but I think this is a great thing to bring up because mother, like you're saying, has, when we think of the term, it does have that biological component and also the social component. And oftentimes, if you ask anybody which one is more important, people would say that the social component is more important than the biological. Because
Absolutely.
Legally, and with regard to who a child views as their parent, or even who society views as a child's guardian, is based on the social component for who fills that role in that family. And so I think we're able to separate in our brains, even though these are two kind of linked characteristics, we're still able to separate them for the sake of utility in society. And so it's interesting that we can do that with a term like mother, but it's so difficult for us to wrap our minds around doing that for something like woman or man. I think this is a great way to address the conversation. But there's an interesting angle too that we often see. Like if you've ever ventured into like a mom's group or a women's group or anything where you have a bunch of people who many of them are young mothers, especially, you end up getting to some weird gatekeeping even in those communities about like what makes you a real mom. And this issue for some reason is debated in those circles, and even things like breastfeeding. Like if mothers are not able to breastfeed, they're often kind of ostracized in these mom communities because they're not doing the right thing for their child, even though they're feeding their child just fine. Just they're not using their own breast milk. And same thing with C-section babies. You see some weird gatekeeping with, oh, well, you didn't really birth your child because you went through a C-section and not a vaginal birth. And so it's weird how gatekeeping we can get with any of these. But yeah, I think this makes the question more nebulous, and I think it does equate well to the what is a woman question. So I'm with you there.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how the chat, our audience responds to the poll. Definitely go check it out if you haven't already. It should be in the community tab on our channel. You can vote. But yeah, I think it could lead to some really interesting conversation. But with that said, we have a huge list of callers, and a lot of them sound really interesting. So we should move on to calls, and then we will do more announcements a little bit further down the road. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay. How do you feel about online 2, caller number 1, Alice?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, sounds like it might be a little spicy. We're gonna bring in Alice in Washington. Pronouns are she, her. Alice, you're live on Transatlantic. What's going on?
Hello. So first of all, I want to say I'm glad Dr. Ben is here because this is just the best day for me to call, and this does relate more to Dr. Ben. I'll start off by, so I'm a cis woman, and I'm mostly straight. I have had sexual relationships with women in the past, but definitely hetero-romantic. And I try to be an ally. I've got lots of trans feminine friends. I don't think I have any trans masc friends that I'm aware of that are out, at least. Most of my friends are online, so they could be presenting one way and, not know that they're trans.
Sure.
But in like a kind of a dating sphere, I'm worried that it would. So I found that sex is a very important part of a romantic relationship for myself, and I really like penises. And I'm worried that of getting involved. Like, I feel like I could have a romantic connection with a trans man, but I'm worried when it came to the bedroom, like, is it? I'm mad. Like, it feels transphobic to say, like, I wouldn't want to date or be sexually romantic with someone that does not have a penis.
So I want to jump in. What about a trans man who has a penis?
I know that I have looked into that. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. I know that there's 2 different surgeries, and one like erections aren't quite the same. So I'm not. I haven't really looked into it. Yeah.
So what we get into here, it gets a little bit sticky because it's fine to be attracted to certain types of anatomy, but to break this down purely based on cis versus trans status doesn't really work, because some of the same concerns that you would have about a trans man, you could have about some cis men. So would you, how do you feel about if you were in a sexual relationship with a cis man who needed a prosthetic to have an erection?
I feel like I would have the same misgivings.
So then it sounds like the issue for you isn't them being... Well, so the issue for you then isn't whether or not they're trans. The issue is whether or not certain sexual function is there, right? So that I don't think that would be a reason to date based on cis or trans. That's related to a specific activity preference, which I don't necessarily think is transphobic. Maybe people can come at me, but also I wonder if there's maybe some... Because, of course, I will be honest, I haven't had a phalloplasty. I haven't had an implant. I haven't had relations with anybody who has had an implant like that. So I don't know exactly how it works or how it would compare to a biological erection. But I'm wondering if there's more hesitation going into this than what difference there actually is. Like, I wonder, have you experienced... activities with the prosthetic? Like, do you know if there is a difference or not, or is this just a hypothetical?
Well, so my experience, I've had sex with a woman, so I've done just fingers and stuff, and I've done plenty of toys, and I have done like a sheath toy to make it bigger. But it's those are fun in like every once in a while kinky, but like my default preference is generally just and again, my experience is limited to a couple women and mostly cis men.
Well, so it sounds like you don't know necessarily your like if there would be a difference between, like, because we're not talking a toy here, we're talking like skin and actual anatomy,
right. So
just with an implant.
Right.
So I don't know if you can say that by default there's going to be a difference, and you can try that out for yourself. But I don't know. It seems a bit, I don't know, unfair, I guess, to say that you automatically would count something out when you don't know if there's a significant difference or even how you would even feel about it. It seems like you're having like preconceived notions going into it that you're not going to like it. I don't know. Arden's probably better to talk about this than I am.
Part of it comes from if I was dating someone, whether it was a cis man that had needed help in whatever way, or a cis man or a trans man, if we were having a connection and we were getting along great and flirting and whatever, and then we got to the bedroom, and I'd definitely be willing to try, but if it, I guess I'd be worried about disappointing them as much as not enjoying it as much as I hoped. I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I can cut in here, I have gotten from a lot of the men I've dated, I mean, this is diverging a little bit, but I think it touches on pretty much the same core thing, which is, the sort of belief or prejudice that trans people not having the anatomy you're used to is going to lead to being less satisfied or whatever. And it may well be the case for you that you just really need a hard penis. Sorry. But the thing is, a lot of people go into sex with trans people making a lot of assumptions about how differences in their anatomy is going to lead to different activities or dissatisfaction with those activities. And in my experience, almost all of that is not rooted in reality and is just rooted in some prejudice expectations. So again, it may well be the case for you that is just your preference. And I don't necessarily think anyone should fault you for that specifically, but I do think it's worth acknowledging that why do you have these preferences? Why do you have these expectations? I mean, Ben has already kind of touched on a lot of this, but why do you have these expectations for trans bodies that they're going to be, unsatisfying or just not living up to your standard or whatever? I think it's not to say that you need to go out there and try it with a trans man to be sure or anything. Obviously, be with and exclude the partners that you feel inclined to do so, to be with or to exclude. I think that is you're right as a human being to do that. Very much value autonomy, but I do think it's worth exploring, at least internally, introspect a little bit about kind of where these expectations are coming from, and if maybe through alternative methods those expectations could be met. But again, I don't, it sounds like you're already kind of on the right train of thinking about this, where it's I don't think it's transphobic or prejudice in and of itself, but I think it can maybe elucidate some prejudice beliefs that we are kind of taught growing up, or that lay at the foundation of kind of our understanding of bodies and anatomy and sex and pleasure. So yeah, just kind of, I don't know, explore that to what extent you're comfortable, and I would be interested to hear if you do have any new experiences and if it changes how you think, if you'd want to call back and kind of update us on what those experiences were like for you. And yeah,
I'm not presently really looking very well. Just I'm in the process of moving, so I'm not worried about trying to date anyone right now because I'm moving out of the state.
Sure.
But if I ever do get, start dating again, and I would never, I know I would never just start flirting with somebody and find out they're trans and cancel a date or anything like that.
Sure.
But I feel I kind of worry about going into the bedroom and how that would go or not go. So.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say I've had multiple straight men who I've gone on dates with voice similar concerns, and I'll tell you, once we got into the bedroom, there was not as much shyness or disappointment on the other side of those things. So I don't know, just introspect a little, trust your gut. I think you probably your gut will probably tell you everything that you need to know about what you're comfortable doing and not doing. So But thanks for calling,
Great.
Alice. This is definitely an interesting topic to talk about.
Yeah. Thank you, both of you. Thank you very much.
Have a good one. Bye, Alice.
You too.
All right. Do we want to hit those after the first call announcements, Ben?
Yeah, let's go for it. So, a couple things. If you want a super chat read out loud today, you can leave on $5 or more. It will get read on the air after the show is done, and you can put in your vote. And there has to be a hashtag, either hashtag Team Arden or hashtag Team Ben, to vote for either one of us. If we get to 25 votes, we have to do, the loser has to do some punishment. If we get to 50, then we both have to do it. So we have to think about it. This is kind of on the fly. So we don't have our painting things this time, because also I can't lift my arms, so painting would be very difficult anyway. But we'll think of something, some kind of punishment. But also, if you want to financially support the channel and you want access to cool Zoom hangouts that we do, where if you can imagine being in a room on Zoom with Jimmy and Matt and Arden and me and Forrest and Shannon and like all of these cool people that you watch all the time on this channel, well, you can go to the Patreon, patreon.com/calltheline, and join. And there are certain rewards where you can be in that Zoom hangout with all of us, and it's a great time. So that's something else that you can do. And there are other shows on this channel that you can watch. Lots coming up in the next week. So, of course, there's Takis Today. You're already here. And then coming up on Sunday is the Sunday show with Jimmy and Matt. And then Monday, we have Skep Talk with Godless Engineer and a surprise guest. Then on Tuesday, Hostility with Jimmy Snow and Seth Andrews. And then I think on Wednesday, we have the Hang Up with the show that was rescheduled with Matt and David Tamayo, which the storm happened last time that was supposed to happen. So I'm very excited that that's going to happen this week. And then the Transatlantic Call-In Show, the best show on this channel, with Katy and a surprise guest next week. So lots to look forward to, and I hope to see you all in the side chats. I'm usually hanging out there. It'll be a great week.
Definitely. And also, like and subscribe. It costs you nothing. It helps the show a lot. If you're watching like multiple shows and you're not subscribed, you should definitely do it. At the most, you're gonna catch a few extra shows for a little bit, and if you don't like it, you can unsubscribe later. But like, you shouldn't. You should just say subscribe, because we do amazing content, best atheist, skeptic, pro queer content on the whole gosh darn YouTube. Anyway, we've got a lot of callers, and they're all super interesting. God, let's see. 7-5, not really interested right now.
Yeah,
we can just take caller number one, I guess. Let's roll through. We've got Lucas in Brazil. Pronouns are he, him. Lucas, you're on the line. What's going on?
Hi, Arden. Hi, Dr. Ben.
Hey, what's going on? What would you like to talk about today?
So, I'm a little nervous. It's my first time on the show, but I really want to talk about this project that I'm working on, which is this script, this screenplay for. I'm still in the research phase, but I'm trying to do this thing where I do like a satirical look into trans issues in Brazil, and I started researching a lot about trans issues here, and it's really something serious, and it's something that I want to take seriously, because it's I mean, it's no laughing matter really, but I want to really satirize how the system failed trans people rather than trans people themselves, right? And I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the trans issues that I see here in Brazil, and how hard it is for me to deal with it, because I'm cis, but and my co-writer is cis as well, but it talks a lot about the invisibility of LGBT people, and I think this is one of the first times that I'm saying it publicly, but I am LGBT, because I I'm attracted to the person rather than their sex or their biology or whatever, or their gender.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about invisibility and the visibility of trans people, it really touches me. It's something that I take very I take into consideration when it comes to writing this piece, right? So
Yeah.
I want to talk specifically about some things now, which are like how trans people here, this coming from trans sources themselves that I'm studying, and they talk about how they're mostly treated like sub-citizens, like they're less than a citizen. And because most trans people here are, for example, aren't registered to vote. They're and they don't have representation on the political parties here in Brazil. They barely have any representation. And also they have very very little access to education and to higher education, and to work opportunities. They don't have a lot of those. They also they don't have
I don't mean to
access
cut you
to
off,
public
Lucas,
health.
but if I could cut in here really quick. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like trans people in Brazil are dealing with a lot of the same systemic issues that LGBT people in the US are dealing with, a lot of the same restriction to access to, housing and education and employment and all those things. I'm curious, it seems like you're trying to get to like a question beneath all of that. So I'm wondering what that question is underneath this stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah. The question is, me being a cis person and doing a work on trans people, I think the most important thing to do is to ask a trans person, what would they want to see represented in a film like this? What would they want to see done?
Yeah. I think that's an awesome question. Go ahead, Ben.
Do you happen to know any trans people in Brazil that you could work with on this project? Because I think, number one, it's very important if you're going to be making a project for the trans community or to represent the trans community, that you have somebody from the community helping to work on the project. And that too, I think, might help with specifically culturally relevant issues, because neither one of us is from Brazil. So while there is some overlap, I think it's hard for us to really weigh in on what does Brazil need to do, or what would be convincing to the people in Brazil. So I would strongly recommend getting somebody on the project who is trans and from the culture that you're trying to reach with this.
Yeah, I've been thinking about how to do that, and one of the things my therapist told me was to actually try and interview people, and trans people, and trans specialists and trans people, and just through that try and get to kind of ask them what they want to see in the movie, how they see the movie, and how I should go about making a more compelling argument or a more compelling story that gets to the root of the issue.
Yeah, I think, something I definitely agree with Ben. There are going to be very niche cultural things that I think it's important that you have a Brazilian trans person who can weigh in on this. But that being said, I think there are some things that would be really great to see that we lack a lot in trans representation in the media. A lot of trans representation in the media does rightly talk about, the systemic injustice that we face, the ways in which trans people are marginalized and oppressed. And that's all really important to talk about for sure. However, I think it's important also to not let that dominate the narrative. I really think something that is lacking in a lot of trans representation in the media is the celebrating the mundaneness of there's probably a more accurate part of speech for what I'm trying to say there, but the banality of trans lives. Like, we are just normal people, a lot of the time. I talk all the time about how I do activism out of necessity, not because it's something that I necessarily enjoy doing. like I would love to be able to be known as a reptile keeper, you know, as a snake breeder person, rather than a trans activist and snake breeder. But trans people are in most cases denied the ability to just be, you know, we have a few trans politicians in the US, but they're not just politicians. Zoe Zephyr is not just a representative from Montana. She's the transgender representative from Montana. We are, because of these, you know, oppressive forces and the prejudiced beliefs that people in society carry, we are forced to have our transness become a dominant factor of our identity. And while sure, it's significant, and sure, it's good to talk about the ways that impacts like our perception of things and our experiences, I think it's important to really show that trans people are just trying to live life the way everyone else is. You know, there's trans joy, there's trans community, we celebrate and lift each other up. And I think that a lot of that stuff gets lost in translation a lot with these kinds of narratives, because they're trying to get people to empathize with the way that we're oppressed. And again, that's important, but I think it's also really important to show that, you know, not do sort of the show, not tell thing, where like trans people are just trying to live their lives. They're trying to be, you know, fulfilled and connected to their fellow humans while they're here on this short life, but that we are constantly impeded by these oppressive forces who deny us the ability to just live our lives. I think that those are the things that are really missed in a lot of this. And the focus, unfortunately, gets so put on all our pains and negativity. But Ben, I don't know, did you have any other like thoughts on something you would want to add to that too?
No, I definitely co-sign what Arden was saying, especially about trans joy. Like kind of like we were talking about in the poll earlier about surgery, like people often focus so much on the dysphoria aspect and the discomfort and everything that we lose sight of the fact that like we're very happy with our transitions for the most part. And yeah, we're just trying to exist. And I totally get the same thing that Arden was talking about. Like almost every time I'm invited on a show, it's to talk about something trans related, despite the fact that any like cishet person brought on would be like, hey, what's your book? What do you do? Like, and for me, it's like, what's it like being a trans person? Like, you do know that I'm a doctor, right? Like I've put all of my life's work into this one thing, like to help humanity. Like I went through a very difficult educational program, and it's, what's it like being a trans man? And like, you know, that's not all that I am. So yeah, I agree with everything that Arden just said.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, like, I want the movie to be a happy, hopeful, funny movie, you know, and I want to show that side of it. Definitely, that's something that I was actually very, very, you know, I wanted to do from the very beginning. But yeah, I wanted to have its serious moments and to talk about the issues itself, especially because those are the countries that kills the most amount of trans people on hate crimes. And that's something that I definitely want to touch on because it's a very bad scene, right? It's something that's always there, but nobody really talks about. And yeah, but I do want it to be a very happy, hopeful movie. So I don't want it to be a tragedy. I don't want it to be about how trans people or trans folks suffer all the time, or how they're constantly in pain, or I don't want it to be about that, because I don't believe that's how people are, right? I want to humanize the characters and make them actual characters rather than caricatures of trans people. And yeah, so I don't want to talk too much about the movie itself, but the idea is basically kind of this like Karate Kid meets Fight Club sort of thing.
Okay, I definitely think there's a lot of potential for something there. I'm not sure how much other advice we can really offer you. I mean, I think it sounds like I like the fact that you're trying to focus on you know, the positive aspects of our lives and show that we're just humans too. But But aside from that, I think I don't know how much else we can offer you, Lucas. I mean, I appreciate you calling in. I think this is great, and I definitely hope you get some sort of trans person on board to like, kind of like do a sensitivity reading to make sure it's all good. But if there's anything else you'd like to add, I think that's probably all we got for you today.
I just want to ask you, if I email you guys, can I get some resources, like for maybe books or videos or anything that can help me with
Sure.
understanding more about trans issues?
I probably have some stuff to share. I think our contact info should be in there, but at least I have a email through the line now. I don't know if everyone's gotten one yet, but arden@qanaline.com. If you want to send me an email, I will keep an eye on that, and I will try to send you some like books or resources that I have that could be. There's a lot of great memoirs out there that have been written by trans people that I think are really a cornerstone for me. At least they were, in undoing the prejudice that I had for trans people and really seeing them as humans when I was coming into my understanding of myself. So I would highly recommend a lot of that stuff. But if that's it, that's all we've got for you. So thank you so much, Lucas, for calling in. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope we hear from you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. So we are cruising. We've got full lines, and they are all interesting. So let's, how do you feel about caller number 4? That sounds good to me.
Yeah, we're getting lots of potentially spicy calls today, and I'm kind of living for it. Let's do it.
Yeah. No, that's been really good conversation so far. So we're going to take Simon in Germany. Pronouns are he, him. Simon, you're on the line, and specifically transatlantic.
Hello.
What's going on? Hey.
So, you remember me, right? Dr. Ben? Sorry.
Yep, I've talked to you a couple times.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing your voice, Simon.
I think yeah, sorry. Okay, so first, I'm autistic, so please, first definitions, okay? My first question, how is sex and gender defined?
Sure. So, my first thing, I can talk about sex. I think sex is, Ben's probably a better person to define sex. Yeah, why don't you go, Ben? I'd like to hear you do that, and then I'll
like
take gender.
this little rant, because I think if you watch last week's or a couple weeks ago's show, I had a pretty good definition for all of these. But I'll let Arden take specifically the psychology stuff, because I don't talk about that as much. But sex is the combination of physical characteristics related to reproduction. So this is a combination of your genetics, so your chromosomes XX, XY, XXY, XXXX, etc. Any combination of those, that's your genetic sex. There's anatomical, which includes internal and external anatomy, and secondary sex characteristics and gametes. And then there's hormonal sex, which is your ratio of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, and DHT, and all that. So a lot of people will say that sex is just one characteristic. Like, people will often say that it's your gamete or gamete potential. I disagree with that definition, because all of it is interconnected. It's a multifactorial process. So that's why I would say it's the combination of factors, some of which we cannot modify and some of which we can modify, such as your hormonal sex can be modified externally, whereas your chromosomes can't necessarily be modified. And I'll let Arden wanted to take gender, so.
Yeah.
So I always interject first with sex.
Sure, go ahead.
And like, for example, you know Lucy, right? The fossil.
Yes.
Yeah, like we say
Lucy,
that's a female, right? Because of the bone structure, correct?
Well, so here's the thing. We can guess. Pretty much anything that we do, especially within fields like anthropology, it's an educated guess based on averages. So something that we need to really think about when we're talking about biology is people like to think that male and female are completely separate, they're like separate circles and there's not overlap, but really it's like even averages, it's like this. So anything, even if there's an average, like the average male has this bone structure and has this height and this muscle mass, whatever, and the average female has that's an average. But you think about that's if you take all of the numbers. Remember, if we're calculating an average, you take the full range of data, you add it together, and you divide by the amount. So that's how you get the average, right? So an average isn't indicative of everybody in that sphere. It's just like, for example, if you ever taken a class and like somebody ruined the averages for a curve, right? Like you could have the majority of the class getting around a C, but because somebody got an A, it moves that average up. That doesn't mean that everybody had a B on the test or an A on the test, even if the majority had C's. Like you see how averages can confound the actual data. So it's a measure of central tendency, but it's not at all indicative of the actual numbers. So to say that like a certain skeleton is male or female, that's a guess at best. And that's all we can really get to based on an average. But we don't know where along that spectrum that person actually was. And there's something too, when we're looking at these averages with regard to sex characteristics and the likelihood of overlap, it's not like 0% overlap versus 100% overlap. There are degrees for each different characteristic. There's degrees of separation for like how different these actually are. For example, like with bone structure, I don't actually know the percentage of overlap, but there are certain characteristics. If sociologists especially will say if there's 40% overlap, that's considered like highly different between sexes. Whereas anything less than that, there's, moderate difference or mild difference. You can take different characteristics and say, but how much overlap is there even among these averages? Do you see how this is a bit more complicated than just saying that, well, this is the average, so we can make this determination? That's a massive oversimplification of what reality is, even with regard to biology.
Yeah, I think in the case of someone like Lucy too, I think you could probably say like the odds are that Lucy was a female specimen, but because that would leave room for acknowledging that biology is diverse and complicated, and there are exceptions to like almost every rule, but still acknowledging that there's probably some sort of statistical reliability in the predictions that you can make based on certain things, not all, but yeah.
For example, if you have 0.018% are not male and female, is that then rare, like really rare, right?
I mean, it's uncommon, but
okay.
It's
Simon's using the example that because there's a small percentage of people that fall somewhere between that make it really rare. And I kind of see where you're going with this argument, because Arden and I actually gave a presentation not too long ago where I mentioned this. The fact that people will take this number as being rare and then saying that we don't need to consider it because it's rare is a fallacy. Because it's not acknowledging a real set of people. To say that, it's more likely that you're going to have all of your sex characteristics be congruent does not mean that it eliminates the potential for you to be in that rare category. And it's misleading to label it as this small percentage, to just say it's a small percentage, therefore insignificant, because that's still a big number of people. If you factor in even that small percentage and calculate that with respect to the entire population of Earth, and not even just the entire population of Earth now, but of people that have ever existed, that's a much bigger number. Yeah. So people, especially if you see them on Twitter, they will take these statistics and understand that people can't really process numbers very easily in our heads. Like when we think about that small number, our brains do not proportionally recognize what that number actually means. And so people can take that data and make visual aids, especially that are misleading, knowing that your brain cannot adequately process that number.
Like in 100,000 people, 18 would be intersex, then, correct?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the specific
What's the
numbers
point
are,
in
but I
bringing
don't know
this
how it's. Yeah, I don't know what the relevance is. Besides, so your initial question was you wanted us to go through and define all these words, and we can continue doing that. But we're now on 8.5 minutes in the call. We have 4 other callers in the queue that I'd like to get to. So no, it's okay. I'm just saying that I want to keep this call on track. So we can continue talking about these edge cases and the nuance of sex, but what would you actually like to talk about? Because I feel like this is a sidetrack.
Okay. Next 2 questions in one. Like, how the LGBT community sees themselves under each other, like lesbian sees gays, gay sees bisexual sees transsexual or transgender, according to which word, and how other people outside the community see the other people. Like, I get the feeling like my educators, for example, they're pretty open and so on, but like they kind of find it annoying for some certain people that are like pretty crazy in our community.
So I have a little bit of an issue with the question in general, Simon, and I'm going to tell you why.
Sorry.
You don't have to apologize. So when you ask how did the individual members, the L, the G, the B, and the T, see each other, and I don't know how.
Yeah.
We can look at, there are, I think, some statistics on people being polled within these groups about their opinions and values with regard to each other. Overwhelmingly, LGBT people are pretty supportive of one another and advocating for one another's rights, as far as I understand. But I don't know if that really matters, and also I don't really see the relevance, because like I don't know every gay person, every lesbian person, every bisexual person, or every trans person, and I don't know what meaningful conclusions I could draw, even if I knew what all of their perceptions were of the other letters of the community. I don't know what that would mean. It has nothing to do with the reality of our healthcare needs or the reality of how we're discriminated against in society. It doesn't have anything to do with the laws that impact us or the social values that influence people to treat us differently. I'm not really sure the point of analyzing this.
It sounds like asking to stereotype.
Yeah, exactly. You're kind of asking us to make judgments about each group
like,
community, which seems silly.
Yeah, like for myself, like I feel a little unsafe in some certain parts of the community because like I'm a gender non-conforming male, for example. And I personally see some trans people attack these people that they should transition, and I find this really intolerant and sad, as we should be together.
I definitely see this as well. I've seen lots of trans women in particular who, maybe are fetishized or treated sort of like along the lines of like a sissy sort of stereotype, and people being like, we're the same, and trans women really pushing back against that, being like, no, we're different. I will say, I think it has led to some sentiments that I can tell of frustration from trans women against gender non-conforming feminine men to be apprehensive about why they are wanting us to bond. But generally speaking, that shouldn't be happening. I think I'm all for gender abolition. People should be allowed to dress and act however they want, and regardless of their identity. But Ben, you looked like you had wanted to,
Well, I kind of see a problem with this framework as well, just because I feel like sure, you can note certain trends with certain parts of the community, but I think it's kind of dangerous to overly categorize people. And I think this might further contribute to othering each other and causing further divide amongst yourselves. And that's what happens when you stereotype any group. You can be frustrated with certain individuals in that group or certain subsets of groups, but to lump in, I have some frustrations with some trans people that I run into, but to say all trans women, like I have issues with some trans women that I've run into on Twitter. And if I were to say, like, all trans women do this, like, that's problematic, right? And that's dividing us against each other, when no, we need to unite, and we should not be fighting against each other. We can work out our individual differences amongst individuals, but I don't think it's fair necessarily to try to create these other in-groups and out-groups within our community, because that's just further fragmenting it. And I think that's going against our goal. And I get that, like, it's natural human instinct to want to have your in-group and other out-groups because you feel safe, you feel included, you feel all these things, but that's not the direction that we should go. And it's going to do much more harm to do that in the long run.
Yeah.
But
I think
problem, sorry.
I was just going to say, and I think further, you asked after all of that about the perception of people who are not in the trans community of some people in the community. And you said something about some of us seeming like crazy or whatever. And I think this just kind of goes again to the framing that Ben is objecting to here, where it's like, sure, there are some people, some activists, some individuals who might take actions that seem crazy or reprehensible to a lot of other people who are not in that group. But I don't know what we get this a lot from our other like gender critical callers, like one who happens to be in the line right now, who loves to talk about, the niche circumstances where, a trans individual may have done something like absolutely ridiculous, and then framing it as, shouldn't you as trans people as an entirety be ashamed and outwardly rebuking this particular individual because what they did is reprehensible? And it's kind of like, I have no interest in constantly moderating my behavior for how the general public might view trans people. Just because they mistakenly assume that I, as an individual in a minority community, am somehow representative of that entire minority doesn't make it true. And while there are times where you have to be aware of how the public is perceiving you, for sure, I don't think it's healthy to focus on niche cases and where activism has gotten, quote unquote, carried away according to the average cis person. I think we are all stressed, and in most cases, in most countries, we're oppressed to some degree, and we are all fighting for our rights. And in times that's going to get things tense, and people are going to do and say things that are maybe objectionable. But I don't think it's really a worthy time investment to spend thinking about how the public sees the LGBT community in the way that you're talking about. I think. Sure, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I would think it's important how the public sees us in the eye, because at the beginning was it the LGBT community? I think they wanted it was the slogan, "It's okay to be gay," and that's wanting to acceptance, and some people see the trans community as something different, and then it's hurting everyone. How should people
here's the problem though. So the LGB Alliance, it was set up to other trans people. The thing I was just talking about, grouping people so that you can say we're the in-group, they're the out-group, that's exactly what they did. And that shouldn't be what's happening. They should not be doing that. And they're getting a lot of people riled up because they've labeled a group as an out-group. That's what's happened.
I didn't mean this community. I meant the beginning of the rights for...
Yeah, I know what you meant, Simon, and I think you're mistaken. You are rewriting history. When the Gay Liberation Front was advocating for their rights, they weren't just saying gay is okay, ooh woo, accept us please. No, there were pies thrown in Anita Bryant's face. There were riots. People fought viciously for their rights, and they were demonized by the general public by and large. The vast majority of Americans, when the gay rights movement started, did not approve of LGBT people or LGB people. They did not accept this. And it wasn't they're, we don't agree with them, but they're just asking to be accepted as okay. That's not how it was. What we are seeing, how people treat trans people right now, is an exact reiteration of what happened to the gay liberation movement in the 70s and 80s and the 60s before that too. this is just a rewriting of history to try to frame trans people as more irrational or more crazy than ever and more deserving of public rebuke and discrimination. And it's a mistake and a misunderstanding of history. And I'm sorry that you've fallen for it. With that said, though, Simon, I'm going to give you a chance to respond because I did just say something about you, and I want you to be able to say what you want to say about that. But we do have to move on to the other callers because we are rapidly approaching the end of the call.
Limited time, so I lost the. Well, wait. I forgot what I want to say. Okay.
Well,
sorry, you can go. I wish you a nice day. Thanks for calling. I will call next week probably.
Okay, go for it. We'd love to hear from you again, Simon. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon. It's unfortunate. I hear that a lot, when the and I think you brought up LGB Alliance because I think this kind of started from them, which is, he didn't say LGB Alliance specifically. He said LGB.
He didn't say it specifically, but I think he intentionally separated out LGB and the T, which... Yeah.
Okay, so I know you really want to take caller number 10 on line 1. I want to do that caller first, and then we can try to see what we have time for after that. All right.
Yeah.
So we've got Dennis in Poland. Pronouns are he, him. Dennis, you are on the line. What's going on?
Hi there. I knew that's gonna be me because when you... Okay, I'm sorry. When you started talking about I know you want to engage with that. Okay, let me just give you my backstory really quickly and give you... I can't hear you.
We have anything.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Okay, I have your video muted, but the video is going back. It's slightly behind the audio that I hear. Okay, never mind.
Don't watch it. Just focus on. Yeah, just focus on the call.
Yeah. I'm just gonna close it so it doesn't bamboozle me. Okay, so I'm Ukrainian. I'm currently living in Poland. I come from really conservative. Both societies are quite conservative. And right now, trans issues are not even on the table because there are issues with women's rights, rights for abortion in Poland right now. So, as my dad always says, we'd like your problems, but we need to grow to have your problems. But I'm trying to over the last few years, I was trying to educate myself on different topics, and one of the topics that I still am dealing with and understanding how I feel about it and not quite sure how to understand it is trans issues. Let me explain exactly what is troubling me in this topic. So I understand that over the years I learned that trans people were always a part of human history and always a part of human species. So it's perfectly natural way for like a percent of an animal, and humans. I count humans as animals as a biologist. I have to. So I understand that that's perfectly natural, and I also understand that that jump that sometimes people give as a argument for that's not. That's just a trend. It's not people identifying themselves as trans. I understand that that's false because, for example, in English educational history, there is a moment where people were stopped being taught to write with their right hand, and there was a jump of left-handed people because they were allowed to write with left hand. So I understand that there will always be a jump when institutional suppression stops. There always is a jump of people identifying as a suppressed group because it's just coming out, right? So I understand that. But for example, one statistic that troubles me is that it's from England. I think it's statistics I could not find for all the years. I found only for 2019, that, for example, there is a gap between people asking for like gender identity help between boys and girls, specifically teenage, because that gap does not exist for children. That gap does not exist for adult people. That gap did not exist before when these issues were in a public debate.
Hey, Dennis,
Subject to
can I
public
cut you
debate.
off real quick?
Yes.
Okay. I want to make a prediction. Is that fair? I think I'll make it more entertaining for the audience.
There are more girls than boys identifying. Yes.
I was going to say, you're going to bring up the statistic that says 4,000% increase in girls identifying as trans people. Sure. So I'm going to respond to that.
Well, not 4,000. No, actually, I did not hear 4. I just looked at statistics and there is the discrepancy. I don't know, 4,000 or not. I see that there is a sizable discrepancy.
Well, Dennis,
I can tell you.
Yeah.
So that statistic is about, it's misrepresented often. So what you're talking about is, and I have the number because I've been doing this a long time, they would like to talk about the 4,000% increase in trans young girls, is what they'll say, people assigned female at birth who identify as trans, being recommended for trans healthcare, right? That is what that statistic says. And it's important to note that what that statistic doesn't say is that young girls are going on to receive transition care and being transitioned. It says there's a 4,000% increase. Now, granted, if there were 2 people before that, a 4,000% increase is not meaningful really at all. But whatever the number is, regardless, 4,000% increase in girls being referred to a gender identity clinic for care. That does not follow that those people are actually trans, that they are actually receiving trans health care or being transitioned in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, yeah, I understand that there is a difference between asking for services of gender identity services, or if I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry. I've had a beer while waiting. Okay, I understand the jump itself does not bother me. But from what bothers me is the difference between genders. Because from all other statistics that I see, I don't see a reason to think that there are more trans women. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I was gonna say I can think of plenty of reasons. When research on autism first started, overwhelmingly the research applied almost exclusively to males. I don't have the exact numbers, but for most of the history of autism as a diagnosis existing, it was almost exclusively diagnosed in males and boys. And now in the past 5 to 10 years, there's been an explosion of diagnoses of autism in girls and people assigned female at birth, right? But that does not say that suddenly there's some sort of discrepancy or social contagion going on about this specific diagnosis. All it says is that previously this diagnosis was almost exclusively really deeply looked at through the lens of people assigned male at birth, and now it has been expanded and considered in more ways. There's so many reasons why a statistic like this could exist. It's not particularly remarkable in any way.
I don't think your argument works because I'm sorry. I understand that I might be ignorant here, and I'm not trying to fight you. I'm trying to understand your point. Maybe I'm missing it, but the difference,
what's your objection?
The gap in between. I'm sorry.
No, I said I could be wrong. I want to know what your objection is.
Yeah. If what you're saying is true, that discrepancy would appear not just in teenage girls. It would appear later in life as well, right? But I don't see that discrepancy in after I think 16 or something like that. Wait, let me open. Numbers come closer after 18. So basically, the gap grows back down after 18 years old, right? And before what is it? 10, I think. So
part of the So part of the reason I brought it up, maybe the numbers I brought up are wrong. That's fair. But you were implying that you couldn't think of a reason, or you actually explicitly said you couldn't think of a reason why there would be a gender gap specifically in the diagnosis in those things. And I was saying that there's plenty of reasons why there could be a gender gap in recommendation for healthcare. It's not remarkable in any meaningful way. And I don't think you can draw any conclusions from the statistics about trans healthcare or social contagion or malpractice from doctors or anything like that.
Well, no, that's not objections that I would raise. I'm merely saying, and maybe it's my lack of eloquence, but what I was saying is that there is a difference specifically for teenagers. There is that gap exists only for teenagers, and it did not exist historically, to my knowledge, and it does not exist for before and after teenage years. So that.
So think about some things that. Yeah. Hold on. Think about some things that change amongst those age groups, right? So you're saying that there's this gap that only exists for these teenage people that were assigned female, right? But think about how the healthcare system works and kind of what resources go into something like this, right? So specifically for people outside of adolescence, you're on your own for the first time, usually after age 18. You're usually not as financially well off, especially in the United States. There's a lack of healthcare resources for people of that age group. So like, even if somebody wanted to get referred for gender affirming care at that time, you're way less likely to have that access because it costs money.
Of course.
And it costs time off of work. It costs a lot of things to be able to seek out this type of healthcare. And so for somebody of that age group, it might take years before they can get to a place of financial stability to be able to seek that out. And so oftentimes, especially for people that are assigned female at birth, some people can get away with social transition only. And so sometimes if that's the only thing you can do, people might not actually seek out medical care that is written and documented. They might still be presenting as masculine and just not have the medical treatment. Because think about everything that goes into transition. This medical and psychotherapeutic aspect is only a small subset of what is available for trans care. A lot of it ends up being social transition. And that's the same thing even when we're looking at these younger age groups. The big thing that changes when you hit that adolescent age group is puberty, and it is that ability to receive medical therapy, which I don't know how familiar you are with the options for transition, but medical therapy is really only available starting at adolescence because you can't go on a puberty blocker until you've actually started puberty. And you can't start HRT until you're at a developmentally appropriate stage. So the things that we're doing for trans kids under adolescence, at most, you can do therapy and social transition. And that's it. Like all of this comes down to developmentally appropriate transition. So you're not going to see these mass referrals at these younger age groups because you can handle a lot of that without medical intervention. And in fact, you're not going to get medical intervention. So like, and because especially we're talking too about referrals to gender affirming care, right? So let's say you go into your primary care physician or you go into your psychotherapist or somebody and you say like, hey, my child is 3 years old and identifies as a boy, they were assigned female. You're not going to be given a referral, because anything that referral could do is not relevant for that age group. So that's why you're not going to see that jump at that age. And that's just one explanation. There could be multiple factors as well. But the fact is, if you're relying on this one number of a referral, that is only a subset of what is actually available for transition. So it's inaccurate to rely on this one statistic. And that's what Arden was trying to say, is that you're using this one statistic that out of context seems very leading in a particular direction, but you put that back into context and maybe it's not as significant as it sounds.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you for this answer. I'd like to address also some other issues, but that's a very useful answer. One of the reasons why I wanted to talk with you about these things is that I engage actually a lot of my friends that have very similar worldviews with me on a lot of subjects, like, for example, atheism and other things, have real, let's say, more radical positions than, way more radical positions than me on trans issues, and not the humanistic way. So I'd like to have that really solid in my head to, to be able to respond if they have questions. Like, for example, I was talking with my really smart friend who is studying in Germany actually right now, and we were talking about the issues in education system in all over the world, really. And he mentioned that, like, I don't understand why they are talking on television so much about like these strange issues when education is so like horrible everywhere. And isn't this a priority? And like that's actually something that I can myself address, but without your help, that I could tell him that that's really stupid way to think about it, because first of all, these issues will probably be fixed together. Probably education and acceptance of people and acceptance of difference go hand in hand. So that's not really something that you should split. And but things like should children be allowed to go through transition? I think it's. I wouldn't have a good argument to say. Could you make a
Before Ben takes this call, I have to run to the bathroom, but I want Ben to finish this this call with you, Dennis. I just wanted to say, Dennis, I actually really enjoyed this conversation. I think you're a really honest, engaging caller, and I really appreciate it. And I hope you call back in the future. But Ben can finish up this call, and if,
definitely.
Jimmy wants to put on a 1-up so I can split. Thank you.
Yeah. So you're hesitant about how to respond to people talking about children transitioning. So my argument for this is a lot of people don't understand what goes into transition, and this is probably the most powerful argument you can make. Is number one, people will use very ambiguous language. They'll say that they're talking about children transitioning, which imagine in your head a child. When I say the word child or children, what age group comes to your mind specifically?
7, 10. Some people up to 45.
So you think of like a grade school child or younger usually.
Yeah.
And so they'll use this wording to kind of mislead the argument. So when we're talking about gender affirming care, like I mentioned, for anything before adolescence, you cannot medically or surgically transition. That is not available. So people trying to imply that toddlers are getting surgery or toddlers are getting HRT is not at all an issue, because that's not happening. There are no medical guidelines that suggest that that's the proper thing to do. What you're doing in young children is social transition. So things that are completely reversible, such as you call them by a different name. They wear different clothes. They grow their hair out. They might wear some nail polish or something. Things that you can go back and change. If they decide they don't want to be called a certain name anymore, cool. You can always go back and undo that. So it's social transition and therapy to kind of see what's going on if they are trans or if they are going through a phase or whatever. That can all be worked out through therapy. So all of that stuff are things that people wouldn't argue against, right? But people will take that term, and what is actually being done, like what could be the more nuanced debate here is, do we give medical autonomy to adolescents ages 16, 17, maybe 15, which that's a different conversation, right? And that's
and I'd love to hear your argument about that as well.
Yeah, so there's a lot of debate here, because there are certain things, at least in the US, that adolescents can consent to and can't consent to. And for the most part, children cannot consent to any medical care at all. And by children, I mean all the way through adolescence. If a 16-year-old has diabetes and needs insulin, they're not consenting to it. It's their parent that is consenting to this on their behalf. So it already isn't an issue about whether or not a child is consenting to this, because they aren't. It's the doctor and the parents that are making this decision for the child. However, let's take an example of teen pregnancy, right? So in the US, I don't know how it is in Poland or anywhere in Europe, but in the US, you can, if you are, and you don't even have to be like 16, 17, you're talking even younger, 9, 10, unfortunately, people getting pregnant, And they legally don't have consent over their own healthcare because they're minors. But since they're pregnant, they do have the ability to consent for their own baby's healthcare. Except for an abortion in states that outlaw abortion, because they can't consent to carrying a pregnancy to term because they're now forced to do that. But so it's such a weird argument to think about. Like, yeah, any of us can say outright, well, kids just shouldn't be able to consent to anything. But then what lines are we drawing otherwise for that same thing? Are we then going to also say that a teenager cannot consent to pregnancy care? Because a lot of times, like if you have a teenager that's kicked out of their house for being pregnant, which some kids are, unfortunately, that's a reality, they still get access to healthcare because they're alive, their fetus is alive, and they need medical intervention. So in a case where they are emancipated, they can still consent. So where do we draw that line apart from transition care? See how this is kind of sticky, and how just relying on the can kids consent thing is problematic.
Yeah, sure. Although my position, while not very thought through, is that no one should be able to vote. You can drink since 18, but you shouldn't vote until 25 at least, and all other things like that. Well, that's a little bit of a joke. Sure, I understand your point. Yes.
Dennis,
I
we have to
definitely
wrap up the call.
Yeah.
We have one more caller we need to get to. I want to give you a chance to give a final word, but I hope you call back because this was an interesting conversation. I think it could go forward.
I definitely will.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's been super fun to talk with you guys and super useful to like shuffle things up in my head and see how they stack. Something that I wanted to tell you that as Ukrainian, I can't say that I in any way understand how it feels to people to deny how you feel, what you are, or how do you define yourself. But I can a little bit understand that as Russians keep telling me that I'm just a confused Russian and I'm not an Ukrainian. So in just a little small way, I maybe understand some part of your struggle. So stay strong, and I hope I wish you everything the best.
Thank you so much, Dennis. I really appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too. See you.
Oh, right. That was a really good call. I gotta say, the reason, we talk about this every now and then, but the reason we do this show is to talk to people like Dennis, like people who maybe would otherwise vote against access to trans healthcare for minors, but are actually open to a conversation and receiving new information and evidence that might contradict their belief, and who can call me out if the example that I'm giving doesn't actually make the case that I think it makes. Now, I think I specifically was not relying on the actual data because I knew I didn't have the data. It was more of the broader point about the unreliability of these kinds of statistics. But that being said, I really like that call with Dennis. I think he's a great caller, and I hope we hear from him again. But we've got one more caller on the line. I think this one's going to be kind of quick, but let's talk to Andrew in Romania. Pronouns are he, him. Andrew, you're on the line. What's going on?
Can you hear me?
Yes. What's going on?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't prepared. I didn't think I'd make it this week.
You did. You got it. You're the last caller.
Oh, that's great. So I had several questions, but my main one is this. Ever since I think 5th grade, ever since 5th grade, I knew I was attracted to non-op trans women. So I'm attracted to the female form, but I also like penises, and I like them more than vaginas. I mean, I think they're both great, but the penis is more attractive to me. It's more. Let me put it this way. I can get a hard on from both, but I can't come except from penises. That being said,
Sure.
so yeah, that's my that is my sexuality. I believe that makes me queer. Is that correct?
To be honest, I kind of hate the notion that because you like one set of genitals or one kind of body, you aren't queer. I think if you feel like you're LGBT, you probably are, and if you don't feel like you're queer, then you're not. It's more of, I think, something you self-identify into. But I can see why someone who's attracted very much so to like specifically penises and to non-op trans women might consider themselves queer. Some trans women might be off-put by that, but it's really a matter of how you identify yourself.
Well, I'm only asking because I didn't even know what the term meant until very recently. So I'm not sure if I should identify as that or not. But
if I could offer you an example,
yeah,
I want to get you to get your question, but like, sorry, my camera is getting all weird. My partner identifies as straight, but has often talked about the fact that he's attracted to me, and that probably under a lot of people's books classifies him as queer, but he doesn't feel comfortable identifying with it because he doesn't have the lived experience of a queer person. Queer people are usually oppressed in some way and experience oppression on the basis of their queer identity, and he hasn't experienced that, so he doesn't feel comfortable taking on the label, even though there's probably a good argument for him being queer. That's why I mean, like, it's kind of up to you. But anyway, I want you to be able to ask your actual question, so go ahead.
Well, I have no problem identifying as queer, but it's not that important, I guess. My question would be, if I would want to date someone, how would I ask the question? I mean, first of all, how would you feel? How both of you would feel about being asked that? I should also mention that I am autistic, and social interactions are generally very difficult for me in the first place. So
Sure.
that's pretty difficult. But even so, in my case.
Yeah, I think it's different for every trans person. I think there are some trans people who the question would make them kind of recoil in and of itself. And I don't think there's much you can do to predict how a trans person is going to react to the question. So I would advise you. I think if this is an important aspect of your sexuality and would be an important aspect of a relationship with a trans person for you, I think it's important that you do bring it up. I think you asked it pretty well here. You could bring it up gently and say, like, hey, I have some personal questions about like sex and intimacy that I want to bring up to you. And I want to be very careful not to offend you, but some of those questions are going to involve like your genitalia and how you refer to them and what you're comfortable with and stuff like that. I think if you are careful about it, most trans people will be receptive to it. I mean, I know some trans people have very specific language that they use. I tend to not be that picky, and I really I'm a big fan of enthusiastic consent, as you should be. And so I like it when people are upfront and are like, hey, I have this set of preferences and I want to be able to know how to talk to you about what we can do together and about your body and how we can best explore that together. Are there any like words or actions or concepts you want me to like steer clear of or like definitely hone in on? I think those are important questions that aren't just exclusive to trans people. You should be having these questions whoever you're having sex with, whether they're a cis person or a trans person. Ben, do you have thoughts on that too?
Yeah, I think definitely like this is absolutely important to have communication around. I do think a mistake some people make is that, like, especially in thinking about this, they go in to like the first date or something with this being their primary thing that they want to ask, which is weird to immediately start off with. Like, I think imagine going on a date and just having the first question right off the bat be like, what do you like to do in bed? Which like some people might want that as the first thing you ask them, but maybe like just handle it like any other relationship. Like maybe get to know the person a little bit. Like don't only focus on their genitals because that's a little bit weird. I mean, naturally, like when that comes up, when you're ready to have a conversation about sexual preferences with that person, then you can engage in that conversation and make it like not an interrogation, of them. Like, make this an active discussion between both of you. So like, don't just rapid fire questions at them about like what their body is and like all that stuff. Like, make sure you're like including yourself in this. Like, say, okay, like, I know we're getting to a place where we are considering having a sexual relationship. Like, of course, establishing consent about going in that direction at all is important. But like making sure that you can offer like, hey, here's what my preferences are with my body. Here's how I like to be treated. Here's the things that I bring to the table. And then like invite them to share the things that they bring to the table and all that and stuff. So it's not just you interrogating them about their genitals. Like, you're open talking about your preferences too, and like what you bring to the table and what you'd like to do with them and all that. So just keep it like a mutual experience and not just like a one-sided, like, these are my needs, I need to be met or else. Because that's definitely a turn off.
You know, that's kind of the answer I was expecting. However, I don't tend to I don't make friends easily. Actually, I have very few friends. I've made a long time ago. So you know, if I let's say I go on a date with someone, or I want to go on a date with someone, to me that's I sort of want to know that from the get-go. Let's say you have a cis man who is straight. When he goes on a date, you know, he can identify women because let's say he meets a man, he will know from the start he can't date that man. The best he can do with that man is be friends with them. I mean, I perfectly understand what you're saying, but I guess to me it would be pretty important to ask this question from you know, to see what my options are with them.
So I would pose a question back to you. I can appreciate why someone would want to know going into a date or a relationship or something these facts about someone, but I think you should ask yourself, are you owed that information at that stage in a relationship? I think most women and most people, generally speaking, are not inclined to want to talk about that on the first date. There definitely are people out there who are like that, for sure. And if you find that person, then that's great for you. But we hear this a lot as trans people. I deserve to know if you're a real woman or a real man before I ask you out on a date. And I can appreciate why you would want that information, but you don't deserve it. You want it. And you can't always get what you want. Unfortunately, dating is a messy game of trial and error where you have to go on a date, see if it works, and probably, just statistically speaking, a lot of the time it's not going to work. And you just have to kind of accept that every time you meet someone like that, you are rolling the dice, and there's a probability that there's going to be some sort of incompatibility between you two. And while I can appreciate, like, I don't want to waste my time, I want to be sure that someone I'm going out with, like, we have, you know, shared values and shared interests and all that. You are owed that information. So unfortunately, I think as much as you might want it or prefer it, I don't think you're going to get it in most cases, and that you should probably instead try to shift gears into thinking, how can I respectfully identify our values in a reasonable time frame, which might be at the end of a first date, after you've kind of already established some rapport, or maybe after the first date, or if you're friends with a person beforehand, maybe. But I think you really have to be careful, which is kind of why Ben was saying, I don't think most people on a first date are really gung-ho about talking about their genitals and what they're interested in. So I don't know, if you want to be with trans women and be respectful of them and have like something serious, I think you have to keep these things in mind and just accept the unfortunate situation where you don't get that information beforehand. You just have to wait and see.
And here's something that like I want to emphasize, because I think like there's definitely a disconnect in the culture between like cishet and queer relationships. And I think maybe this might be where you're struggling, because I think with, granted, I'm not cishet. I have attempted to date in that sphere before. So I'm not an expert on cishet relationships, but oftentimes there's this expectation and a lot of assumptions made within those relationships. And granted, that comes from a history of tradition and things, and that's just how people are raised in that cultural setting. But people go on dates, like cishet dates, and then they kind of assume what is in the other person's pants. They assume the role that the other person is going to take in the relationship. Like, you enter this relationship never communicating about the expectations. You just assume it's going to be the case because that's how it's always been. And it's not hard to imagine why there's a lot of discontent in relationships and for the long term, because of the fact that people don't communicate. Like, just because one person's a cis man and one's a cis woman doesn't mean that that cis woman wants to partake in certain activities in the bedroom, or that she's going to be satisfied by that interaction. Like, maybe those communities need to adopt more communication ahead of time and not make those assumptions and not have those expectations going in. And maybe you need to stop being as lazy in your relationships and actually establish communication about these subjects. And maybe more people would be happy. I think oftentimes in queer settings, we're not used to making assumptions because you can't. Like, you can't assume somebody's sexuality. You can't assume their gender. You can't assume what activities they like in the bedroom. So I think we're more used to having those conversations with each other. And so I think no matter what your sexuality is, I think a lot of this could be alleviated by just having these conversations at appropriate times. And maybe that's a cultural disconnect, but I think that would just, that would help.
Yeah. I do want to give you a chance to respond, Andrew, but I think it's also worth noting, like, I do porn for a living, and I just did like my first pro shoot this past week. And even on the set, because I'm interacting with people who engage with queer people regularly, there is at every stage, you wouldn't know it when you're watching hardcore porn that this might be happening behind the scenes, but at every stage we were stopping to communicate, hey, how do you feel? Are you okay with this? Can I say these things? Am I able to talk about your body this way? Am I able to touch you this way? I think these things are really important, and I appreciate wanting the information beforehand so that way you don't hurt their feelings or something. But I think the situation is you have to ask to avoid hurting their feelings and potentially be disappointed with the answers that you get. You have to be willing to take that risk. And I can appreciate if you find yourself like feeling challenged socially, why that would be difficult or feeling like a huge task to overcome. But I think you're going to find that most of the time, if you're respectful in the way that you ask, most queer people, most trans people are going to be very receptive to that and going to be like, hey, like, I appreciate that that's what you're into, but that's not for me. Or, yeah, no, we can have that conversation. I hopefully these answers were helpful. It sounds like we maybe didn't give you the answer you wanted, but I think it maybe the answer you needed.
Yeah, you're making some good points. I guess what this problem stems from is me expecting it kind of like Dr. Ben said, from being as easy, with those assumptions, being as easy as a heterosexual relationship. But yeah, I shouldn't. That's something I shouldn't expect to be that to have granted those expectations from the get-go. I mean, this is. I know this isn't. There's not a simple solution to this. I just wanted to ask a few more questions. I was curious, why would someone choose not to have a genital reassignment surgery if they are trans?
Because it's incredibly expensive, incredibly painful, and there are a lot of risks.
Takes a lot of time to recover from. Yeah. So many reasons. I mean, if you do adult entertainment, it's a lot of the trans women who get bottom surgery lose a lot of work. Like, not getting bottom surgery is like essential for business for a lot of trans women. I mean, it's just an unfortunate, there are so many complicating factors and confounding factors that don't have anything to do with whether or not they want it. So it's hard to say, but yeah, there's no one answer, unfortunately.
Oh, no, I can understand that, but are there trans people who prefer not to undertake the surgery? Let's say that the surgery was so simple you could just like that do it. Would there be people who would? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's plenty of trans people out there who are non-operative, but not by circumstance, they just choose not to. I would say I don't have numbers on that, but I definitely know many trans women personally who have just made the active decision to not get bottom surgery. It's pretty common. I think for a lot of them too, it's not even about it. Sometimes it's like the surgery isn't snap finger easy, and so they don't. That's what they're looking for. But I think there are definitely a lot of trans people who are would actively choose not to, even if the option was that simple.
Right, and also on the flip side for trans men, there are a lot of trans men who want to get pregnant and they want to have their own baby, and so a lot of people choose not to undergo that surgery because they still want to utilize some of that function that their body has, and that's it's not a bad thing at all. Like, some people choose that, and I personally would not choose to get pregnant, but some people really want to do that. So,
well,
yeah,
Andrew, that's kind of all the time we have. So I do want to give you a chance to say a final a word in response to all of that. But thank you for calling. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for your answers. I would just have a simple final question. So regarding the pronouns, why would someone choose, let's say, she or he, and they, them, or they? I mean, why not she, her, or he, him, and instead she, them, or they, or he, they, or them? That's something I don't understand.
Well, that's kind of difficult because you're talking to two binary trans people. So I don't necessarily know if I can tell you experientially why someone would choose they, them. I can tell you, I used to have a roommate who I was very close to. I haven't talked to them in quite some time, who goes by they, them, is trans masc and very masc presenting. Everyone assumes that they're a cis man, but they use they, them pronouns. And the way they described it to me was they knew for sure when they were growing up that they weren't a girl. But as they kind of started to transition, they realized they were like, I'm also for sure not a man. That feels super wrong as well. And just having people just recognize me as an individual without the weight and the constraints of everyone else's expectations for them based on their pronouns or their gender identity is what feels best for them. So you're going to get a variety of different answers. I think that was the one that made the most sense to my brain. But I can't speak for non-binary people who use other combinations of they, them, and she, they, and he, they pronouns. Yeah,
I mean, of course, I don't have anything against that. I was just curious. Thank you very much. If I have more questions, I'll call again.
Cool. Thank you so much, Andrew. Have a nice day. That call went better than I was expecting. I was kind of like, oh boy, a call about transgenitals. Here we go. But no, that was good. Also, I feel like, am I having a delay as far as you can tell, like between what I say and?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's good. On my end, there's a huge delay between what I'm talking and the voice. It's bizarre. Anyway, we've got super chats to get to. So let's remind our audience, if you would like to support our show, you should send us a super chat. While it's not the best way you can support us, it is the primary way that the line is funded, is through our super chat. So if you send us a super chat of $5 or more, we will read it out live at this portion of the show. If you add hashtag Team Ben or hashtag Team Arden, we will have to come up with some sort of punishment. I'm thinking we're going to do, I would like to do a Cuz I Wanna stream with you, Katie, and myself, and maybe like Josie or some of the other guests we have.
Where we do all these punishments?
do as many of
Yes.
them as we have backed up, because I know we've got quite a few backed up that we haven't been able to get to. I think that would be a good way to get them out. So if y'all want to see that, let us know in the comments and hit the like and subscribe button and all that good stuff. But you ready to hit these super chats?
Yeah, I think I have a good punishment for me if I lose.
Okay.
I have like a blue and pink like mermaid wig in the back. I think it'd be fun if I lose today, the next time, not for the whole episode, because I don't want to get misgendered the whole time, but I will for the super chats wear my mermaid wig.
Okay,
maybe
I can do. I would totally do like if we have like prosthetic like facial hair, you could like put like a colorful mustache on me for part of the show. I would do that. That sounds like fun.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. We'll have some weird gender fuckery, colorful additions for the next part of a show. Sounds great. Do you want to start us?
Yes. All right. $10 from James Call. Katie, Katie's not here, so you're talking to me now. A couple weeks ago, I mentioned a battle between Poppy and Pebbles. It would be a metaphorical battle for cuteness and hashtags. I cleared this up with Dr. Penis. Well, yeah, you're going to have to clear it up again with Katie because she's not here. But thank you for clearing it up twice with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, James.
Yeah. Love the support. Thank you so much, James. I saw James in the chat did say to pass our message along to Katie, so we'll have to let her know. We've got 10 Australian alleged dollars from Vay Stevens. May the 4th, I think is what it's supposed to say. May the 4th be with you. But really, is 3 enough? Hashtag Team Frog. Okay, so I used to be Team Frog, I think. This is like OG back in the original days of Transatlantic when Katie was Team Duck and I was Team Frog for some reason. I don't even remember why. I think Katie did an episode of Turf Wars where something about ducks came up and it was like ducks versus frogs. And because Katie was duck, I was de facto Team Frog. But I don't remember. If anyone in the chat remembers, definitely remind us because I'm blanking. But this is like a throwback to the OG days. But really, is 3 enough? I don't know what that's in reference to, though. Anyway, thank you, Vay. We appreciate it.
I want to be Team Possum.
Possum? Right on.
It fits me. I think like the weird masculine energy would definitely be Team Possum. $4.99 from 7 Lions. Takis is one of the highlights of my week. Congratulations on graduating med school, Ben. Hashtag Team Arden. Hashtag go fuck yourself, Jimmy. I love that it's just a meme now. Every congratulations for me means they have to vote for the other person. I think now.
On last week's episode, Matt was telling me he was trying to some issue came up so he couldn't send it, but he was trying to send a congratulations, Ben, hashtag Team Katie, to try to add on to the trolling. $5 from Melissa. Jimmy probably. Oh, I see. Jimmy probably. Help me, Dr. Ben. You're my only hope. Damn it, Jimmy. Go fork yourself. I'm a doctor, not a profession hobby. Hashtag still Team Felines. So who does that vote go for? I mean,
that's you because I don't have a feline.
Okay, that's fair. Sweet. De facto point just because I have a cat. Love that.
I feel like it's for whoever has the most amount of whatever. And you have 1, which is more than 0, so you would win.
Non-zero amount of cats. Love it.
£5 from Grimbeard. Hashtag Dr. Ben, saving lives, saving live streams. That's what I do.
For
I'm
real?
Here to save your live streams and your lives.
Yeah, in hindsight,
mostly your live streams.
In hindsight, it was, I guess, potentially our fault that something went wrong where Katie's name got on the schedule when it wasn't supposed to be, but Ben, fucking graduating medical school, superhero, was available and swooped in. I'm like, I know we can't count on you having that kind of availability forever, but it was huge.
Yeah, I won't, but I'm currently at home. Like since I'm still recovering from top surgery, I've been sitting at home like literally for almost 2 weeks now, and I am so stir crazy. It is ridiculous. Like I've just been playing The Sims because I'm like, I can't move my arms like above my shoulders, so I can't do a whole lot of things. I still have drains in, so I can't I can't really go anywhere. I was told to not walk so much because of my drains. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? So I was just sitting here anyway. So, this was just a sign that, I needed to do something besides
I had drains once, and they got caught on a corner of a table and pulled. And I will say that is one of the most painful things I ever experienced in my entire life, was having drains pulled. They didn't come out of my body, but
they hurt.
Fuck, it was awful.
They hurt.
They're
they
the
don't
worst
tell you
part
how much
of any
they
surgery
hurt,
like this.
and especially when because you have to wear compression for a certain amount of time, and so the compression just pushes on them even more. I'm like, is this normal? And apparently it is. Yeah. It's normal. It just sucks.
I will say it doesn't feel good coming out too, but once they came out, when I had drains, it was the best. It was like better than when you're like constipated and you finally unload like a massive, you're like, the freedom.
Right.
It was like,
I don't care how
like
much
50.
It hurts coming out. I don't care how much it hurts coming out. As long as they can stay out, I don't care. I don't care at this point. I want to shower like so bad.
Oh yeah, drains are the worst. Thank you, Grimbeard.
Thanks, Grimbeard. You got our special rant about top surgery.
5 pounds from Sean Isherwood. Take the factorial of a natural n, divided by 11e, where e is Euler's number. Wait, is that Euler's? Is that what that's supposed to be? Euler's number. Take the floor. What you get is always even. See, I know enough about math to know that that's supposed to be Euler's, but the rest of it is.
I could do this calculation, but I don't want to.
I couldn't and don't want to.
$5 from Larry Fishman. She might be your mother, but she's not your mom. I guess this is a response to the poll.
Yeah. Sure. Well, I guess. Wait.
I guess talking about like the biological parent that's not actually your mom because they don't fill the role in society. Yeah, I could see that.
Definitely. Yeah, there's lots of situations where it's like I said about my dad. I'm like, it's not true. He's done dad things, I guess, but like my stepdad is way more of a dad to me, like socially speaking. Yeah. For sure. Thanks, Larry. Make sure you get those votes in. I don't think we have that many super chats yet. And we need the super chats. Remember, we need to hit 25 votes total in order to do the punishment at all. So you definitely got to get those super chats in, $5 or more.
Yeah. If you want to see me in drag, you gotta get your votes in.
Is this with me?
Yeah, it's you.
Oh, okay. $5 from Mike B. Hashtag the notorious DRB. Oh, Dr. Ben. Nice. That's a vote. Because I joshed you last week when I was congratulating you. Aw, they're compensating.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mike. Just know, like, I'm cool taking some shit from the chat, but if you're gonna give shit, like, I'm gonna give some back. So it goes both ways.
That's fair.
$5 from RPG Debunks. Hashtag Team Sneck. I'm going to assume right off the bat that that's Arden. I want to get into breeding eventually. My goal is to breed het clowns and axanthic piebald. Maybe get a pie clown, need a bigger place first. Arden, this is for you. I'm just going to let you talk.
Yeah. The clown, axanthic, and piebald are all recessive traits. So to get a triple recessive is a lot of work. But if you look up Canova, axanthic, clown, pied, you will see what RPG Debunks here is talking about. They are beautiful snakes. The only thing I don't like about axanthics is that it's kind of deceiving because when you have an axanthic snake, like at first they're really beautiful. There's that stark black and white, and you're like, oh my god, this is like pulled out of a cartoon, like an old cartoon. But as they get older, they start to brown out. And so I don't love VPIs or axanthics in general because I kind of feel like I'm lying as a seller where I'm like, let me sell you this beautiful black and white snake, like as black and white as this chair. And then all of a sudden you wait 2 years and your snake's kind of brown colored and you're like, this is not the snake that I bought originally. I mean, if you know axanthics, you know that that's what you're getting, and they are beautiful as babies, but yeah, they definitely brown out and are less spectacular. Yeah, definitely breed snake. We got our first snake eggs this week. They were corn snake eggs, so they weren't ball pythons, which is our main breed. Whoa, Jimmy, we didn't do the last one. You are so far ahead. Where are we?
You got bored with your snake rant.
Wait, now we're 3 ahead. What are we doing? I'm confused.
I thought this was.
Oh, is this the one we were on?
This was the one we had. Yeah, this is the one we were on. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna take this one then, since Jimmy apparently wants me to stop talking about snakes. $5 from Aubrey. What are your thoughts on a Vaporeon-themed adult exotic dance show called Pokemon Go to the Polls? I think that's fucking hilarious, first of all. As long as somebody there cosplays as Tucker Carlson to really commit to the meme, then that's amazingly hilarious. Just asking questions, # Team Dr. Ben.
Arden, I think you need to start a business. I think you need to start a business like this.
I mean, if I had all the money in the world to do costumes, I would love to do lead into all the memes. But people underestimate just buying lingerie is expensive. To add on costumes and makeup and hair and all that stuff, it adds up really quickly. And then when you're trying to make profitable content, you gotta hammer it out a little faster than that allows. But if you all go subscribe to my things, you know where to find it. Maybe I'll have the money to start doing that. So thank you very much, Aubrey. Now we can take the next one. You are permitted, Sir Jimmy.
$5 from Melissa. In TWOK, Khan's downfall was said to be not thought in 3D. GC seems to be similar, seeing sex as scalar, not vector. #Trek, #Khan, #sorry, not sorry. I'm not a Trekkie, so I'm not following. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the specific references to in regard to Star Trek, although I'm sure if Matt's watching, he's going to be like, rah, after the show. But definitely, I think they view a lot of metrics of sex and biology. I don't know the word scalar. I'm not comfortable. Not familiar with that to know what you mean. But I think you're saying they view it as very flat and two-dimensional rather than occurring on a spectrum where there are multiple plot points and maybe 2 modal, focuses where most of the occurrences are. But yeah, for sure, they definitely. I mean, it's the meme, right? Where they're it's just basic biology, and you're well, let me introduce you to advanced biology. Not even advanced biology, but more advanced than high school.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks, Alyssa.
It's wild. I made a whole rant about that last night. $9.99 from Jimmy said how to pronounce this last time.
Rosina?
It's
Roshana.
Okay. I need to write that down. Roshana Keller. Why do people call them gender critical? They're not critical. They're bigots. The GC label doesn't fit their hate. Yeah, they adopted that label because they were upset at being called TERFs. So they think that they're critical. I of course don't accept that, but that's the name they chose for themselves.
It's a hard thing because for the longest time they were called TERFs, but they're obviously also not feminists. They're explicitly patriarchal in their belief system. So it's I appreciate the criticism, and it is nice to call them, honestly, to point out that flaw. But I also think we can't endlessly be changing how we talk about them because we need the language to be able to direct the focus to the right people of who we're talking about when we're talking about the oppressors of trans people and the purveyors of misinformation about us. And I think that's just the language we have now. But I'm definitely open to it changing gradually and naturally rather than a sort of people did the FART acronym, what was it? It was the I forget. It was a feminist something rejecting transphobe, or I don't remember. It was a way to try to flip TERF on its head and call them farts. I don't think that's very constructive in most of the case. But anyway, $4.99 from Claire. Gay is okay. Ooh, # Team Arden. Lately, I've been getting ads during live videos. That does being a channel member fix that? I actually don't know the answer to that. I don't know if Jimmy has access to a mic right now to be able to let us know. I saw people in the live chat talking about that. I don't necessarily know what the details are with avoiding that.
I don't think the channel membership has any bearing on ad rev, because those would be settings on YouTube. I don't have a way to change them. If you don't have YouTube Premium, I don't think membership bypasses it for individual channels. On our end, the channel memberships just sort of exist because people said they want them. We're going to add like emojis and stuff here soon, but overall it's mostly just it's here and it'll get you past super chat, but really it's like the last place we actually most want people to support us. It's nice, don't get me wrong, like, and it does increase our revenues, but YouTube takes like 45 or some crazy percentage of channel memberships that are like, super chats are bad too. I think memberships are worse. I think super chats they take like 35% of. And so as far as memberships go, it's kind of like people want a way to bypass the slow mode. But if you want to support us in a more significant way, like say you want to support us with a higher dollar amount than whatever the most entry level channel membership is, which I think is maybe $3 or $5, something like that, then do like the cheapest membership and then do the amount you actually want to support on Patreon. It's a way better percentage there. So anyway, I don't know if I'll double check that there's not a way for us to turn ads off just on our channel, but I don't think memberships, I don't think that's something we can control.
Yeah, no, that's a pain in the ass though. It sucks to miss the stuff, but I mean, you can always take it back a little and like, I don't know. With a lot of these callers, we're probably not missing too much, but glad you liked my gay is okay ooh woo point, because yeah, I hear that all the time, that, you know, back in the day, the LGBs were just asking to be treated as normal, and I'm like, that is so fucking not the case. Like, it's a real convenient way to rewrite history, but that is not at all what happened. So, yeah, thanks for appreciating my joke, Claire.
20 Australian from Osbia. Why was Dumbo sad? He felt irrelevant. Hashtag Team Arden. We got the puns coming in the side chat. Man, thank you, Osbia.
Puns coming for Team Arden. I'll take it, but I'm side-eyeing your puns. Thank you, Osbia. I appreciate it. $9.99 from Lena. Thank you for adding pronunciation guide to your super chat. That is very helpful. Just wanted to share that I started transition at 35, and after 11 months of self-care and HRT, everyone says I look early 20s now and I feel alive. So many compliments. Just wanted to share. That's awesome, Lena. I definitely, like, so many people get like, there was a trope going around the trans community for a while where it's like, if you start transition after 22, you're gonna fail and look like an ugly piece of shit your whole life. And it's like, just like not at all the reality of how any of this happens. Like, first of all, medical science is amazing. Second of all, just you being happy in your skin is gonna make you look and feel way better than you ever did before. Yeah, I'm glad you're feeling so much better about yourself. That's super, super amazing.
Yeah, congrats. It's awesome. We already read this one.
I liked it. I wanted to hear it again.
You wanted to hear it again?
Is it just because I side-eyed it? You thought it was funny, so you want me to have to go through this again?
It's actually because I think I forgot to give Arden the point, and so then I was like, was that because we didn't read it, or because I just missed it? And so
also, how are we doing? How many super chats do we have left? Are we like totally not gonna make the mark? Because we're only at 9 votes total right now. I want to make sure we're
about 15, but not all of them have votes.
Ooh. Okay, so we might get there. We might not. So definitely be sure to send in those votes.
I know you all want to see me in drag, so.
And if we hit 50, they both do drag.
That's right. Come on, I kind of want to wear a colorful mustache a little bit. I mean, I'm gonna hate it looking back on it, which is why it's a punishment. I think it counts as a punishment because looking back, I'm gonna be like, why did I do that? But it also, I'm kind of curious what I look like in a colorful mustache.
You know what's funny is, like, I almost have conflicting feelings about it. At first, when Ben was saying it, I was like, I almost wonder if I should say, like, let's think about the implications of what you're saying and what people might do with it. But now I'm also thinking, like, seeing the two of you in drag, I think will also, you know, those like pictures of people, of trans women in bathrooms where it's like, and you think I should be in here, and they just look, it looks ridiculous. Like, a trans woman in a men's bathroom, like takes a picture in front of the urinals, and it's like, this is where you think I belong, and it's usually a very attractive trans woman with like big boobs and stuff like that, and so you see these pictures, and it's like, yeah, with that visual is kind of absurd. I feel like both of you in drag will present a similar thing where it's like,
oh yeah, I look so awkward in a wig. Like I do not look feminine in long hair. I don't.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I did for Halloween one year, I went as a werewolf, and I had like insane sideburns that I gave myself. That was kind of like a little bit of gender fuckery, but yeah, I haven't really done like a facial hair thing in like since like a year or two of transition. So it'll be interesting to see how it looks. I feel like it'll be weird as well, but it'll be good for a laugh, you know. I don't remember who this is. $9.99 from Jake Jones. Hi, Mom. Hi, son.
I think that was
You're Mom now.
I think you're pegging me on the wrong site for me to do that.
I think I'm Mom.
Oh, your mom? True.
Yeah, Jimmy's mom.
No, your mom. Haha, perfect.
Wow. Of course, Jimmy would
just start making your mom jokes, I guess.
Wait, when did you ever stop, Jimmy?
I don't really make your mom jokes. I don't know. I haven't for years.
That's actually more of a telltale thing. Is your mom jokes?
Yeah.
£5 from Samantha Patrick. # Team Arden. Well, thank you for your support, even if it's for the wrong person. That's okay.
Thank you, Samantha, for being an intelligent and insightful individual.
The patriarchy is getting wrecked on this episode. We put Ben in charge, and everyone is rebelling.
It's because I didn't say ooh woo.
Smashing these lo-fi beats. I think this one's yours. Now we know how to pronounce her name.
Yeah. $9.99 from Roshana Keller. How can you not be jealous of Ranma's ability to cleanly switch sexes and genders? No surgery, no HRT, just water with immediate effect.
Is this like a god of some pantheon?
I don't know.
Ranma. I feel like it's either from an anime or it's like a Hindu god or something.
It's a manga. Okay. Got it.
I was like,
it
sounds either Japanese or like it's like Hindu. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's dope. Yeah, I mean,
that's awesome.
As a kid, whenever there was like gender change powers as a kid, I obsessively watched those episodes multiple times. The Kids Next Door episodes with the girlifying ray gun. You better believe I was like, is that a thing? Where do I get a girlifying ray gun? I need this magic in my life. Yes, but thank you so much, Roshana. $5 from Domestic. # Team Arden. Thank you. Appreciate it. Very much love the support for the correct team. The only team. We've already had 2 or 3 super chats until we said 15. Not all of them have votes, which means we're probably not going to make it unless y'all start getting those votes in. So,
get the votes in. Get those votes.
I do want to specify now that I can. Earlier when I put the chat up, it wasn't to try and get you to shut up about snakes. It was, oh, she's talking about snakes. I need to pee, so I can leave the speaker on, get the next super chat ready. She'll do her rant, and I'll be back before, like, with washed hands and everything. And then you were like, oh, I guess I'll just move on. So I was like, had to wait for the next opportunity to pee.
Well, it's because we were 2 super chats deep, and I was like, okay, I guess we're not talking about snakes no more. I was gonna talk more about us finding corn snake eggs and how exciting that was, but you know, it's fine. It's fine. You can suppress my free speech, just like Elon. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much, Domestic.
$5 from Panda. Just want to show some support for the whole show and also say # Team Possum. This is a thing now.
Ooh, Team Possum, let's go. When we lost Velma, we set out food to try to lure her back home under the hope that she would find her way. and
You've
our
been a
front
possum,
door
didn't you?
camera. Our front door camera caught a possum coming and taking all of the food and going away. We were like, "Damn, okay."
Like for
$10.
real, like
sorry.
Oh, but
Go ahead.
possums really is that kind of goofy trans mask energy. Like for I'm not saying that all trans masks have possum energy, but a lot of us have possum energy. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, for sure. I've seen so many trans masks and trans men be like super repping the possum as like a representative of trans mask people. And I'm like, I don't get it, but I love it. It's beautiful.
It is us. It's very us.
Is this me or you or...
Yeah, it's you.
Right. Okay. $10 from Zojak Studios. Hey, Arden, if I wanted to contact you about getting references from you, what would be the best way to do that? Last time I was Team Venus, so this time I gotta be #Team Arden. Great show as always. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Probably. I mean, I respond to Twitter the most, but if you're in my Twitter like message requests, there's a good chance I might miss it because I get a lot of spam and stupid horny men. So maybe my line email, arden@qnaline.com. Let me put it in chat right now. So,
but we should also know, like, people, you are all welcome to send those types of emails and messages and stuff. But everybody here works and does a ton of stuff. So if you get a reply, treat that as like something lucky happened and it worked out. To a question like that, where it's like, hey, where do I get a hold of you to get you to do more work for one person for free behind the scenes? It's like, if you get a reply, that's usually the lucky thing. I want to make sure, because it's come up twice this episode, expectation from the audience should not be that everybody who works here is just available on an individual one-on-one basis all the time. If you want that, you probably need to email a specific offer of like, hey, can I take a half hour of your time? Here's how much I will pay for that, or something like that. Because that's what this is work. It's a lot of work, and just adding work for individuals who are like, I'm curious, that's asking a whole lot. I just want to make sure we clarify this.
No, I appreciate that, actually. It's a good clarification, because this definitely is. I mean, I'm going to multiple sources, making sure, like, usually I'm going to ask for like what you specifically want references for. And if it's going to be like, you know, the efficacy of trans healthcare for children, I'm going to need to get you a lot of sources, and that does take a lot of time. So definitely I agree. Like, you know, don't expect a reply. I will do my best to give you one, but definitely, you know, I don't have a lot of free time. I work basically like 3 jobs right now. So I'm like, if you get a reply, it's rare, for sure.
Yeah, I was both trying to set expectations and also cut off people who are going to say like, because we get this shit all the time. You said if I emailed you and you never responded, like that sort of, people jump into comments to say like, just so you know, they're lying when they say blah, blah, blah. Like, it's fucking insane, the shit that happens. So lower your expectations is my thesis.
I've given sources to multiple people. I know there, if you want a few good, like, just off the top of my head, I know like Sock Done Left on Twitter, Vosh, Riley Grace Armstrong, although I wouldn't advocate for her or for you to watch her stuff in any other way except for this one thing. And I think Nominal Naomi, who we had on the channel recently, I'm pretty sure all of them have like a compository of like, when they're going into debates, here are the studies they regularly reference. All over the internet, they have these like, these different streamers who do debates and stuff a lot, have these list of sources that they pull from. And I've looked at most of them, and most of them are the same sources that I use, or they're very similar, or they indicate the same information. So like, don't be afraid to use fucking Google, man. And like Google Scholar and all of those things, those are good ways to find the information that don't involve me necessarily doing it for you. Yeah. Okay, this is you.
10 pounds from Faye. Hashtag Dr. Ben saving the day with last minute substitution, perhaps as punishment. Ben has to do his show as Jimmy and Arden as Katy. I hope Ben's recovery continues to go well. Arden, congrats on the shoot. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. I don't
Sorry,
know if
no.
I could actually do an impression of Jimmy. Like, I don't know if that I am capable of that.
I'm just gonna say no. We're not doing that. I will I would just be insulted. Whatever.
I mean, Jimmy as me, I feel like I would be insulted, but also I'm kind of curious. I want to know what you would think of do to try to. Yeah.
I would totally see, like, it would be hilarious to see Jimmy do impressions of any of us, because Jimmy can actually do impressions. The thing is, I cannot do impressions, so it would just be bad.
There's something about it that annoys me when people do impressions of me that are bad. Like, do you remember, Arden, the other day we were talking about something and Matt was like, and then Jimmy was like, yeah, it's the and he like did a voice, and I was like, that is the worst fucking impression of me I've ever heard. And just, I was like,
But he got very
like,
defensive.
this doesn't sound
It wasn't
like
an impression.
Well, that's what
Yeah,
he
no,
said, but he changed his voice and said I said something as me. I mean, I think it's which
a way,
is an impression.
Sure. I mean, sort of, but I also feel like there's like a social thing that people do where it's like, I want to indicate that somebody else, I'm suggesting what somebody else was saying without necessarily doing an impression of their voice, where you'll kind of like take on a manner of speech or whatever.
But I find that to also be something that like both frustrates me, because it's usually done somewhat manipulatively, and I will stop people and be like, okay, now do that again, but with the tone I would have actually said it in. Like, I'll say something in response to someone. So AI is a hot topic all the time with me, and so someone will state my position, but they'll be like, and then you're like, AI is really dangerous and it's going to take our jobs away, and I'm like, cool, now go ahead and try again and actually state my position and use a tone of voice that doesn't make me sound like an asshole. Or at least my normal tone makes me sound like an asshole, so at least match my asshole tone. This whole when you're doing a voice, and then your argument was like, you're what a fucking dick you are. Like, oh, now I have to argue back against the monster from the Goonies version of me. Thanks, dick. Anyway, I don't have
That's not what you sound
feelings
like.
on
What
it.
do you mean? That's how you sound to me all the time.
What are you saying? I just fucking like. I hate when people do that. Or I'm trying to find where we left off. I'm a little bit vamping because I got lost. Okay, here we are.
We're right here. I don't think did we do this one? No, I don't think we did this one.
We did. I just read this one.
Yeah, this is the impressions one. I hate too when they're like, when people are manipulative and they try to do something like, well, which one do you think is better? Jimmy says blah 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 blah, but I say da 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 da, and you're like, fuck off. Fuck off with your presentation and treating this fully grown ass adult like a 4-year-old. Would you like candy or good vegetables? Fuck off. Get out. Go fall asleep forever.
Sure. People definitely do that in conversation, and like, I wouldn't really call it debate, although I have seen apologists do stuff like that in debate. I feel like it's like a weird argumentative conversational style that I definitely have seen used plenty of times. Yeah.
I see it all the time, and I think it happens a lot more than you think it happens.
Maybe. Probably.
Which one do you think is right? Jimmy, who thinks it happens pretty often, or Arden, who thinks it's not even that big of a deal? Okay, anyway, here's the next one.
Definitely Jimmy. Jimmy is right, because that was the totally correct one.
I know.
666 from Loki. Wishing you a speedy recovery, Dr. Ben, but sorry. # Team Arden. Yeah. Anyway.
I keep getting confused.
Congrats, Dr. Ben.
I keep getting confused because usually if Arden is on, they're in switched positions, and my brain keeps trying to hit the wrong score button. I actually think Ben might have 6 points now. I'm just gonna do that to be safe.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It's fine. I'm still losing.
Y'all have like 2 more minutes. When the clock hits 25,
yeah.
I'm gonna the poll vote. So if you're voting in the live chat for Ben versus Arden, it's worth 1 point.
All right, Team Arden, let's go. Step it up. Come on, team. I don't want to be disappointed in you. Wake the fuck up. Get activated.
They want to see me in the wig.
I am your dear leader. This is not a democracy. This is a dictatorship. Do as I say.
Samantha Patrick. # Team Arden. There you go. Team Arden has
Samantha
spoken.
knows. Samantha
is all Team Arden.
That's right. 25 alleged dollars from Kathleen Moncrief. I had an emergency gallbladder surgery in winter, and all I wanted was a hot shower. So I tried sitting in the bathtub in the smallest amount of water so it wouldn't get near my incisions. Very unsatisfying. Hashtag Team Family Dr. Ben. Wow.
See,
yeah,
you've got your loyal supporter, Samantha. I've got Kathleen because she is also a family doctor. So I feel like the loyalty from hashtag Team Family Medicine is not going anywhere. So
that's cute. I like that for you guys. It's adorable. Thank you, Kathleen. I hope you recover quickly.
This was in the winter.
It sounds like
gallbladder recovery surgery takes like a week to recover. I mean, not permanently, but it's very fast to recover from. I went to work 2 days after my surgery.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
$9.99 from Lena. To expand on my last one, I went into a hot topic for the first time in my life. I've always wanted the cute things inside there, and I had too much anxiety. I got so many cute and punk things. Hashtag Arden. Hot topic is pretty great. They got a lot of geeky stuff there.
I was very much so. I came out. Y'all know my story. I don't need to detail it. When I was going through transition as a teenager, I was very into the like emo goth aesthetic and very much wanted to be like that kind of kid. So I definitely was in Hot Topic a lot as a younger kid. I'm kind of more like basic bitch looking now, but framing. But yeah, I was very into Hot Topic. It's definitely good to like go through that, you know, and embrace that kind of stuff, the stuff you didn't get to do, for sure. $5 from Larry Fishman. My previous super chat was a Guardians of the Galaxy 2 reference. Hashtag Team Arden since Ben already has the wig. Oh, very nice. Well, I think if you vote for me, you're voting for Ben to... Oh, okay, I see. Also, I already forgot what your first super chat was, so I don't remember how you were referencing Guardians 2. But thanks anyway.
$5 from James Call. I don't want to see either host dress up in gender roles they don't identify with, but hashtag Ben is behind. I mean, I appreciate it, but also, like, this isn't, for me, especially, like, this isn't me going girl mode. This is, for me, drag, which I would totally consider, like, doing drag as a queen, like, for the sake of, like, I know a lot of trans masks are drag kings when they do drag, but for me, like, from my perspective as a man, like, I am a man, I feel like it would be equally drag for me to be a drag queen, since that would be opposite of my regular presentation. And I mean, you can do drag however you want. Drag is an art form, like, it's just a character. You're putting on a character. So, like, that's how I see this wig. Like, it's not me. I'm not putting on me. I'm putting on a wig, and it's just a costume.
For sure. I think I understand. Sorry if I'm wrong, James. It's my understanding that you're cis, but if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. I feel like trans people and queer people in general, this is kind of like the straight expectations in dating versus queer expectations. It's very similar, where it's like, I appreciate what you're trying to say, but I think trans and queer people are very much more open to like doing drag and gender fuckery for fun. Because it doesn't bother me either. Like, if I'm wearing a mustache that's colorful and silly, I'm not suggesting that in any capacity I want to have a mustache, or that I am like, you're punishing me by making me look like a man. I don't think I'm gonna look like a man with a fake mustache on. It's just gender fuckery. It's just gender fun. And to Ben's point, I don't remember how far she got, but the drag queen Gottmik as a trans mask, who was like very, very far to the end of a recent season of Drag Race. So like, and I think a trans woman won, I think, one of the more recent seasons, or came close to something. Sorry,
this season.
Sorry.
This season.
Oh yeah. Well, I probably shouldn't have said that, because now I'm spoiling it for people. But the point is, like, trans people and drag do not have to be mutually exclusive just because we have a closer relationship to how drag impacts, you know, and gender presentation impacts our life. I think we're able to have a lot of fun with it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Is this you or me? I don't
Ben
even
won
know.
the poll chat.
I'm lost. Oh, nice! Congratulations.
I won the poll
Dr.
chat.
Good team.
I think
good
it's
game.
you,
good game.
because I just...
Okay, $10 from Jason Jones. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben. Just the old cat dad checking up on Ham Bro. You seem well. I'm glad. Arden. Matt's eyes light up when he talks about you. He's so fucking adorable. And yeah, go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Go Dr. Ben. That's cute. Thank you for... I appreciate that you notice those things. Ooh, we're 2 votes off of having to do the punishment, though.
Ooh. $5 from Melissa. An explanation. Thought bubble, thinking, scalar, sex equals whatever, vector. Okay. I guess that makes more sense.
So scalar is more singularly focused, like a single unit, like gamete potential, whereas vector is more of like the combination of the factor is what I feel like you're trying to say. I've never seen those words used specifically, but I'm gonna look it up now. I don't want to be ignorant. What is scalar?
Well, I know like a scalar in math term, like it has endpoints, or like it has a start point, but no end. Like it's relation to the confines of the definition, I think.
Google suggests that it is having only magnitude, not direction. So it sounds like it is a single unit, but it can have like certain degrees of that unit. Whereas vector is more talking about like multiple points.
Yeah, I guess for me it was relating that mathematical term to something social like this. It was difficult for my brain to connect the two fields. But yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, they combined actually vector and scalar. Vector quantities have only two characteristics, a magnitude and a direction, whereas scalar quantities only have magnitude. Yes, and they gave examples like distance versus displacement, speed versus velocity, mass versus force, and temperature versus acceleration. Or
Careful, you're going to make this conversation too accessible and engaging.
I mean, I don't know what these words are, so I'm trying to just access the conversation. I'm sorry. I do adult work. I don't have to be intelligent, okay? Just my bimbo ass out here trying to follow math words. Sorry, I want to understand.
I don't accept your apology.
Yeah. $9.99 from oddly specific. Wait, is it? God, I already forgot. My brain is so made. Okay, from specific with Audra. Technical question: what system do you use to keep all the super chats until the end? Other streamers I know lose chats after a bit. That being asked. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben. So we use vMix. And particularly for the super chats, we use vMix Social. I'm guessing I think the one that I see a lot of other atheist streamers use where they lose super chats is StreamYard. I don't know what the limitation of StreamYard is, but I'm guessing that's probably what you're seeing. I don't think a lot of people use vMix, Jimmy. We have kind of like an exclusive thing here, don't we? I don't know how much you can even talk about that.
There are a few other... but yeah, like certainly in the atheist and streamer sphere, I think that we are, so basically if you're asking because you're thinking about adding it to your stream, you probably aren't gonna, but maybe, I don't know. vMix is like if you took a program like OBS and you scaled it to be able to produce like news networks, like, you know, CNN and shit. So, yeah, no, I don't. And unfortunately, it's not cheap either. Though they did recently add monthly options. It used to be that we had to pay like $1,200 a year or something for it.
Oh wow! I mean, and even then, it's not perfect. Like we can't get the membership chats accessed into the super chat thing because I think memberships are new and probably this was designed before that was even a feature that they had to consider. So yeah, it's not perfect, but it's good.
New features that YouTube adds, vMix is slow to also add. Yeah.
But thank you very much. Oddly specific. That was oddly specific. Living up to your name.
Yep, there you go.
Oh, our points are shifting all around there, Jimmy. What's going on?
I made a boo-boo and then I fixed them.
$5 from James Call. Wow, I misspelled rolls. Maybe rolls with extra cinnamon and sugar. So embarrassing. Hashtag Ben because he's so behind. I'm less behind now, but also I do love cinnamon rolls. Like, I mean, I love all food. I'm a human trash can, but cinnamon rolls are atop of the list for me. I love cinnamon rolls.
Okay, when I was visiting my sibling in Portland this past week, we went to this restaurant that was super yummy. We had delicious food, but after it was like a brunch, we got a cinnamon roll that was like this big and was covered in edible glitter and like super fresh strawberries. And it was like a cream cheese frosting. It was literally so fucking amazingly delicious. I can't even explain to you. I'm very here for cinnamon rolls. Baked goods.
Yes, and the cream cheese frosting
that much, but
makes
baked goods are... Yeah. Oh, amazing. Delicious. Love me some baked goods. 5 pounds from Faye. If you wake up with a new skill/ability tomorrow, what would you want it to be? My fingers are really reliable. I know I can count on them. Hashtag Team Ben. Oh, wait. I'm really confused what the last sentence has to do with the rest of it, but your fingers are reliable? Sorry, I'm so flabbergasted by that combination of words. New ability. Probably like... I don't know. On one hand, I feel like teleportation would be really helpful because then I could do all the collaborations and the business things that I want for my adult work without sacrificing being here for producing shows or doing reptile stuff.
This isn't mutant powers. They're not asking about becoming a mutant.
Oh, really?
They're asking about a regular human skill or ability.
Oh, well, then I wish I had better organizational management skills because I'm really poor on that. Yeah, that's probably the human non-mutant skill I want. But teleportation, if we're allowed to be mutants. Don't hate on my mutant fantasy. What the fuck? Sorry.
I think mine would be the ability to learn languages a lot quicker because I'm already decent at learning languages, but man, the things that we could accomplish by being able to speak to different groups of people is fantastic, and I'd love to be able to learn more languages than I'm currently able to.
I'd want to be very good at 3D modeling.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Listen to
it's me, I think. 10 Australian from Osbia, just because of the side eye. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben.
Wow, the betrayal. This is like,
hey, you're the one that judged their pun.
Fair. $4.99 from Elena. The trans community being very toxic internally about appearance is one of the reasons I stayed closeted for 2 decades. Hashtag Dr. Ben. Hashtag go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Yeah, I think it really depends on your community. Like, I don't know. This kind of comes back to that one caller who's like, the views of the LGBT community. Like, I get nervous about talking about that in certain ways because, like, while I do see certain things like trans women talking about bricks is like something that I see that's shitty and shouldn't be happening. At the same time, I'm hesitant to be like, yes, the trans community is internally toxic because it's like, I mean, uniquely so, probably not. Like, I think every community is probably internally toxic to some degree, right? Like, that's just human beings having expectations and values that are, hurtful to others or whatever. So, yeah, I don't know if I would think it's uniquely so, but I don't know, Ben, maybe you feel differently.
Yeah, I think, this is something I struggled with a bit when I was talking with Arden about certain concerns I had about a certain number of individuals in the trans community that were giving me problems. And we need to maybe stop thinking of the community as a monolith. And I think we need to treat it as like there are toxic individuals in the community, and because the community is so broad and has so many different people of so many different viewpoints that it can seem very hopeless to view the entire community as toxic when it's a few individuals. So I think be careful about making a monolith of a bunch of individual people that happen to have one similar characteristic. So, and then maybe you'll feel a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Thank you, Lena, for your support. $10 from Lighthousean. Oh, wait, did I read that one? Fuck.
It's me.
Team
I think
Arden,
it's
favorite
me.
snake fact, please. Sorry, I did it. I'm sorry. I was just trying to rush because I started and it's the delay. It makes it awkward.
You made it more awkward.
Fact.
That's okay.
Oh, snake fact. I'm blanking on all my snake facts right now. Oh, we're done.
That was an accident.
Was it really an accident? I don't believe that for 1 second.
I don't know if I have a favorite snake fact. I have a hard time with favorites in general, but especially when you're talking about a snake fact. If you ask me specific questions about snakes, I really like Woma pythons. That's my snake fact. I don't know.
You're just
I don't know. I don't have
today.
facts, man.
Okay.
I'm blanking on this. I really struggle with favorites questions because, like, my opinions on things change all the time. If you ask me a specific question, I'm sure I have a load of snake facts to give you. But when you ask me my favorite snake fact, I'm like, I don't think in those terms, so I can't really like draw that information out of my brain. Anyway, thanks.
Sure.
Sorry if that answer was disappointing.
5 pounds from Samantha Patrick, hashtag Team Arden. Once again, Samantha coming to Team Arden.
Yes, let's go. Thank you, Samantha. $10 from YouTuber Grudge. I'm getting top surgery, I guess, in January 2024. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben is hashtag Team Lovely Arden. Is that for both of us?
Oh, it's
or
Dr.
for none?
Venus.
Oh, Dr. Venus. That makes so much more sense. I was like, hashtag Dr. Ben is Team Lovely Arden. Got it. Cool. Congrats on being scheduled for top surgery. That's awesome. Great news.
Congrats. It's awesome.
But we don't do double votes. What are you doing? What's the point of voting for both anyway? It's just to cancel out. We don't do. You can't double vote. What are you doing?
What are you doing? Spicy meatball. Listen to you.
5 pounds from Pancake and On. My old friend's birthday is coming up. She was the most homophobic at school, but came out as a trans woman recently anyway. Hashtag Team Ben for the patriarchy. I guess they ran out of characters and shortened it.
The patriarchy.
Patriarchy. Poor Patrick.
No,
no,
that's
this
awesome.
is Patrick.
I know a lot of trans people go through that. Yeah, no, this is Patrick. $5 from Dylan Fuller. LOL, Ben mentioned the possum energy. It's my furry duty to draw Ben as one. Yes!
Oh, no.
I already drew Forrest as a deer and played it on Jimmy as a koala. Hashtag Team Ben. I love that so much.
You know, I accept this. Oh, there's a snake.
Oh, is this Paul? Yeah. Oh my god. Hell yeah. This is our Woma Python Paul, who is such a gentle and sweet boy. He is genuinely so nice, aren't you? Okay, go on. Thank you. Oh, I wasn't saying that to you. I was saying that to Jimmy, but thank you very much for bringing me Paul.
Oh, wait.
He was like, okay, get the fuck out. I get it. $5 from Zodiac Studios. Apologies if I came off presumptuous. I do really appreciate it if you get back to me and understand if you don't. Have another one. Hashtag Team Arden on me. Thank you so much. I will definitely do my best. But yeah, I mean, it is effort to do that, so.
5 pounds from Sean Isherwood. I think I did the last one before. In combinatorial game theory, there's a non-zero number star such that star is less than S and star greater than minus S for all S greater than 0. Think about it. I'm not in a math headspace today.
Yeah, I'm not gonna think about it. The thoughts ended as the sounds entered my ears from Ben. That is as far as the thinking goes, but thank you. $10 Australian from Osbia. Wishing you well, Arden. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben. Man, I made an enemy out of Osbia. They're so mad at me for not liking their pun. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I will at least pretend to laugh at your puns.
You get the dignity of pretending, yeah.
$10.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Is it me? $10 from Eric Malachite for Arden, because working 3 jobs is no joke. I work 12 hours a day and it's hell on my body. Please take breaks. Goes for Jimmy and Ben too.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for
I do
reminding us.
technically work 3 jobs. It's important to note that my jobs offer me vastly more freedom than most people's jobs. So I probably am leveling out to a healthy, normal amount of hours. I'm very careful not to overwork myself. So I appreciate the thought, though. 20 pounds from Helen
my
Lawson.
one
Tomorrow
job is about to fuck me over. My one job is about to like massively fuck me over.
Yeah, your one job is going to give you more work than my 3 jobs combined, for sure, for many years. 20 pounds from Helen Lawson. Tomorrow I turn 56. That's 16 years of my true self transitioning. Transitioning works because we know who we are. # Team Arden. That's awesome, Helen. Congratulations. 16 years is a long fucking time.
Yeah, congrats.
Feels so... Oh, I am so sorry, Paul. I think for some trans people, a lot of the ones we know are so early in transition that it's kind of like crazy to think of someone being 16 years into transition, but it happens.
Yeah, $5 from I Got Cookies. I voted for Ben in the chat poll. Team Arden. It's all like separate words.
Team Arden.
There's no hashtag though.
Jen did it like she was doing voice attack or something, and it like voice attacks and it got it wrong.
Oh,
5 pounds from Samantha Patrick. # Team Arden. Bon appetit.
Oh,
Bon
no.
appetit. Yeah. Such a sweet boy.
€5 from Andrea Botea. Congrats, Ben. # Team Jimmy. Not just kidding. # Team Dr. Ben. # Team Go Fuck Yourself. Thank you for the vote. And
Goodbye, Paul. I love you.
We're doing
Paul
a
Atreides.
snake transfer.
It quits that Tatarak. $5 from Lena. I am an agent of chaos and donations. # Team Jimmy Snow. Who is it even for?
It's for Jimmy, obviously.
I'm the Ralph Nader of this bitch. Does no one get that reference? Nobody?
Nope. I'm just vibing over here.
For a long time, you voted between like it would have been Gore versus Bush, and then the independent option every year was Ralph Nader.
Right. I was gonna say it sounds familiar, but I couldn't think of where from. Right. Okay. Yeah. Also, sometimes after holding a snake, I still feel like I have a snake on me even after it's gone.
$9.99 from Roshana Keller. Why not Zoidberg?
Why not Zoidberg?
Oh, like love the. I forget what you call that. It's like cowmoji when you do it through text, things like that. Cute.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. Thank you for the donation.
Another 5 pounds from Samantha Patrick. Team Arden just dishing them out there, trying to get me the win. Thank you, Samantha. Appreciate it.
But now we're only 11 votes from both of them having to do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're pretty close, aren't we?
$10 from Sam Mayberry. As Yondu once said, he may have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy. You don't need to be involved biologically to be mom. # Team Ben. Absolutely.
Fucking
thank you for the
Yondu understands social dynamics better than Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let it be known.
Right.
5 pounds for Samantha Patrick. Another # Team Arden. Thank you. I'm gonna win just because of Samantha.
10 pounds from Helen Lawson. Spreading the love. # Dr. Ben. Also, I just realized I've never said go fuck yourself, Jimmy. That felt good. It really does feel good to say go fuck yourself, Jimmy.
Doesn't
also,
it?
thank you
go
for the
fuck
vote.
yourself, Jimmy. $4.99 from Dark Matter. Ben saved the show. # Team Patricky. What?
I don't
My
get it.
name's Patrick.
Oh.
I don't know.
No, it's Patrick. Yeah. The patriarchy. The Patrick. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Maybe
So
it's another misspelling of patriarchy intentionally. Okay. All right.
Yeah. I think Patrick is now the patriarchy. That's what this is.
$4.90. Oh wait, no, I just did that one. Sorry.
$4.99 from
Some beer.
Stacy 1904. Great show today, as always. I love Matt's Run DMC shirt. # Team Dr. Ben.
I will let him know. Yes, he's a big fan. Thank you, Stacey. I hope your mom's doing all right. Thank you. It took a second. I appreciate it. 20 alleged dollars from Nilly Wilson. First, before I read your super chat, Nilly, I have to let you know that because of your username, now every time Willie Nelson's name comes up, I struggle significantly to say it correctly. I'm like, Willie, Winnie. It's just like you poisoned my brain to not be able to read his name correctly anymore. Congrats, Arden and Matt, on your medical degrees. # Team Ben. Oh wow, man, that was a roller coaster ride. I was like, wait, what?
I get the joke, but this keeps getting brought up, and it kind of bugs me a little bit, because, like, as much as it's funny, like, these other people didn't earn that degree that I spent a decade working for. So, I mean, I'd appreciate, like, not. There's just, like, one little thing. Thanks, though.
Word.
Okay, but what special title are you going to give me for the things I did spend a decade working on? Huh, Ben?
A different title. Whatever you earn, you can have the title for. Like, that's just how it is.
I'd like you to call me Doctor Jimmy.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank
you can have a different title.
Dough is spelled like DOUGH, because the thing I've worked on the last 10 years is eating lots of cookie dough.
Yeah, that's fine. You can have that
right
title. $4.99 from Lena. Oh, is it me?
Oh,
or you?
I don't know if I'll do it. Okay, go for it. Yeah, go do it. Do it.
$4.99 from Lena. Jimmy, you mentioned paying for people's time. What do you think is a ballpark amount of money if someone wanted to have a one-on-one conversation? Just curious.
Well, that would be between you and the person you want to have a one-on-one conversation with. My price is going to be different than Ben's and then there are going to be people who are like, nah, I really don't want to do that, because now you're putting a dollar amount, which then comes with an expectation, and so I definitely can't speak to that. But
yeah,
and then everything is also like, there's the level of what do you mean by a one-on-one conversation, because then they're going to be, if I said like right now, like, you know, on average, if a person wanted an hour of my time, you know, and they offered me $50, I'd probably do it. But then at the same time, someone goes, oh shit, I'm going to go offer him $50 and I'm going to record it and I'm going to publish it. Well, that's an entirely different thing. Especially if you're an adversary, if we're talking about, we're going to argue and then you're going to record and publish it. That's a 4-digit number, not $50.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
If people, there's no easy formula.
Like, yeah, it depends on the person. I mean, for people here, like, I have a Patreon, and if you want specifically, like, to be in a conversation with me, I do an after show of medical myths for my patrons. So that's something I publicly advertise as something that you can purchase, and some other content creators do that as well, that they have spelled out. So,
yeah.
I actually
definitely,
also have
I feel like there's some details
where you can request an individual Zoom. So yeah, that's.
Yeah, cool. Definitely give us more details if you have a specific question, Lena, but thank you. 5 pounds from Samantha Patrick, another # Team Arden, keeping the team alive. Thank you. Since apparently the rest of the team has abandoned us, we will keep this ship afloat together.
Samantha is carrying Team Arden today.
To be fair, at this point, I'm pretty sure we've already crossed the thing, right? Haven't we? Oh no, it's 25 each. Right. Sorry. We're close.
$9.99 from Roshana Keller. All my 4 super hats go to # Team Arden. Yes, super. We need super hats now.
I'm gonna give you 2, but that's not a thing we can set as an expect this to work in the future, because that's like if you didn't vote when you voted at the time, and then later toward the end you're like, now I want to decide who the winner is. That's a slope that I'm not willing to.
Yeah.
But I'll give you 2. I'll give you 2 votes for Arden.
I'll take it. Thank you very much. We are almost at 50. We're 2 votes away from having us both do the funny thing. Yeah. Wait, is this me or you? I'm sorry. I can't keep track of it now. I'm so lost. 5 from Larry Fishman. Hashtag Team Arden. Thank you for naming a snake after Moadib. The spice must flow and go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Yes, and Paul's girlfriend is named Chani, obviously, also after Paul Atreides' lover on whatever the planet's called. I've forgotten. Is it Dune? No, it's not Dune, right? No. What? Wait, now I'm blanking. Sorry, go on. Let me find.
All right, 50. Didn't we agree we're calling these sects 50 sects from Puck the Linder? Hashtag Team Ben. I will take that. Thank you, Puck, for your contribution to Team Ben, the right team.
So we've met the 50 points, but somebody still loses in spirit.
It's just for honor now. Yeah,
exactly.
It's just a matter of honor.
Yeah, this is for glory.
They'll both do drag, but now glory.
Glory. $5 from Liev Lee. What would you suggest to someone whose family always dead names them, such as myself? Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. I would say go fuck you, family. I'm not going to spend time around you if you're going to treat me without dignity and respect. I'm deserving of the same level of dignity that you've given every other person that sits at this table. I'm sure you don't misgender everyone here. And if you want to have a relationship with me, it's contingent on you respecting me. But I realize not everyone's ready to blow up their family relationship.
Yeah, that's probably the adult way to handle it. You could also just call these family members by the wrong name and just troll them and see how much they like it. That's the less mature response, but it's funny.
I was told a story recently, and that apparently was very effective and quickly changed it, but it was from a trans friend who was like, so my family is a little bit uptight, and so they really don't like swear words, like the more severe ones. And so I basically said, like, from now on, when you dead name me, I'm not going to call you a cunt. I'm just going to respond with the word cunt. And so it's not calling you it. It's just if you say dead name, I'm just going to go cunt. And then I'm going to continue like I didn't say, like neither of us said anything. And so if you want to keep using that name, that's fine, but you're going to keep hearing the word cunt. Or you use the right name and you won't hear the word cunt. That's how it runs. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, I'm totally fine with agitating people who are disrespectful in that way.
Totes.
Mm-hmm.
It's you, buddy boy.
550 Canadian from Palmo 316. For Dr. Ben, at what point in transition do children typically use the facilities, i.e. change rooms of the gender they ID with? Hashtag Team Dr. Venus. It depends on the individual and their preference.
Yeah, this is definitely every trans person decides this for themselves. Yeah. Co-signed. Thanks, Pamo. We've got $5 Australian from Jackie Andronikos. Just woke up and Arden tells us to step up. Hashtag Team Arden. That's right. Thank you for waking up and immediately responding to the call to duty. Jackie, I appreciate it. Had a good hair day yesterday at work where I'm not out and when I let my hair out. Where I'm not out when I let my hair out. Oh, okay. Well, good. I'm glad you had a good hair day. Feels nice to have a good hair day. I'm having a meh hair day. I did all the work to do a blowout and it still feels so flat. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Heart all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. £5 from Samantha Patrick, still carrying hashtag Team Arden. I think Samantha's the Team Arden VIP today.
For real, seriously. Thank you so much, Samantha. Ooh, $5 from Mel Tree Fitty. What's up, Mel? Is Jade still a no, Dr. Ben? Hashtag Team Ben.
This is in reference to how I said you should not put jade eggs in your orifices because they're porous. And that still stands. Don't do it. I mean, you can take your own risks, but it's less safe.
Right on. Protect your holes.
£5 from Samantha Patrick. Hashtag Team Arden.
Thank you, Samantha. You are a soldier, truly, in this battle. €5 from DIY Patrick. Congratulations, Arden. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben. I love this bit, but I hate that my payments take so long to get processed. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Oh, like through your bank? Yeah. I don't know how that works, so it's hard to. But thanks.
$5 from Melissa. How about it's about honor now? In that case, hashtag Team Zuko, hashtag Team Worf.
Yeah.
You know, I am Team Zuko.
Give Zuko all
real.
the honor. I want him to have it. I want him to be happy. He's such a soft boy. He needs a hug.
So
He does.
who's his
Zuko
vote?
does need a hug. Neither of us.
Okay, just maybe.
Neither of us get this.
Worf. Is that another Trek reference? I know Alyssa likes Star Trek.
Yeah, isn't that the one with the face pelvis?
Oh yeah. The fucking Yep. Another 5 pounds from Samantha Patrick saying hashtag Team Arden. Thank you.
$4.99 from Lena. Oh, sorry for the last question. Hadn't considered the question, I guess. It really was just curiosity. Hashtag Arden.
Oh, okay. Hey, thank you so much, Lena. I appreciate that. I mean, we are gonna do like more debate shows where you're gonna get like a one-on-one conversation, but you don't have to pay. You're just gonna have to be able to be the person who we want on the. Well, I think we're doing caller debate shows, right? So I'm gonna shut up because I don't have the details on that, and so
What's the question?
But no, it was just kind of furthering the one-on-one conversation thing, and I was saying that like I think we are going to do debate shows where callers will be able to have a one-on-one conversation, but you're not going to have to pay for that in the same way that I think Lena.
I don't know to what you're referencing. We're not going to do long-form debates with a host versus a caller. Both people will be on the phone or on the actual screen if they're in the debate.
Okay.
Yeah,
I guess
the normal way is our one-on-ones with callers, just multiple calls per show.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you, Lena. I think that is the last super chat. No? Oh, nope, we got one sliding in.
It's taken a moment to... There it is.
I can just read it. I see it. Okay.
It just wasn't in my thing.
$10 from Gabagool. At the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, there's credits. Hashtag spoilers. Hashtag Team Arben. I'm an agent of chaos. Yeah, that's not a vote for either of us. So
I appreciate the chaos. Because, you know, if you actually gave spoilers, you would be banned from the chat for all of time. I would never let you return. As long as I'm a part of this network, you would be gone. All right, so that is the last super chat. So let's see. We have to thank, of course, all of our amazing mods, Jen, Alyssa, and Ilya. I've seen you guys in the chat. I know Ilya screened the calls today, so thank you so much, Ilya.
Amber screened.
Amber did?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it said Ilya on the thing.
Back up.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, thank you so much to Amber for screening our calls. We love you. You're amazing. Appreciate all the work you do. Hey, got another Team Arden from Leave $5. Thank you so much. But I want to reiterate that while these super chats are one of the hugest sources of support for our network and this show, a more direct way you can support us is by going to our Patreon, patreon.com/calltheline. And we're going to show you a little scrolling thing at the end where you get to see the names of the supporters over on Patreon. If you want to be on that list, make sure you go support us over there. You also got your channel memberships and your...
The top
tier
patrons
the top
are... Yeah, there's a patron producers, and that's who the list is that scrolls. It's not every patron that's on the final list.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was every patron. I figured it was some specific tier. But if you want to be a part of that, that's how you do that. But there's also our channel memberships and like super comments, I think, are now a thing. So there are so many ways you can support us. And definitely, if you have the time and availability and money to do that, we would greatly appreciate it. And thank you to Jimmy for producing the show, I guess. I mean, you know, he does a little bit back there. But thank you so much to Ben also for saving the show and making it so I didn't have to do it by myself today. That was huge because, I mean, I'll do it by myself, but I don't really think that's a thing that we're trying to do anymore. And apologies to Katy for us making the mistake of confusing her availability and then being like, where's Katy? So, yeah, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate all y'all's support, and I hope y'all have a lovely week, and we will be back here next week with another episode of Transatlantic. Bye.